1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to People Add Value Experience. Today we have Cory Hassett from the Locals Eatery and Todd Schrag from the craft bar Destin, Florida. So we're very excited today. A lot to talk about. It's going to be a little bit crazy. Both of these gentlemen are in the restaurant industry, two different aspects of the restaurant industry. Of course, the biggest thing we want to know is a little bit about their background before we dive in. And then we'll talk to them about, their different aspects and purview of the restaurant industry, their different locations, which are the same in the big scheme of things, but a little bit different in the localized area, how that affects them during certain seasons and trends. Again, in Florida, we have an influx that come in at any respective time. So it'll be interesting to hear their perspective again on how they deal with that and all the customers and so on. Also interesting in their marketing, how they deal with that, how they get customer acquisitions, how they both, traverse through COVID, because they both experienced that in their respective areas, which was a little crazy. Customer retention, hiring, keeping people. Both these gentlemen are very unique. They actually have people that they've kept on staff for a long period of time, and in this area and day and age is pretty crazy. So again, just want to make sure that everyone is strapped in and ready for this ride, because it's going to be one of the best PAVE episodes you're ever going to hear. So good morning.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good morning.
Yeah, doing well. Did you like I have to conconcentrate sometimes because I'll stare in your eye. I get lost in your eyes sometimes. I have to, yeah.
Understandable.
I have
Guy.
So briefly, I'm going to go, each of you, give you some time here. Again, as far back as you want to go, just a little bit about each of y'all, your background. I don't want to dive super far into hey, how'd you get in the restaurant industry yet? But just give me up until that point. So just a little bit hey, where you grew up, if you did attend a formal school or whatever, just a little bit about who you are. So anybody want to start off first?
I'll go first. I don't know.
Okay, go for it.
I've been in Florida for almost 20 years now. I moved down when I was 25 years old. As far as the industry goes and how I got into things, I started working for a local pizza shop when I was 17 years old. Went to college up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is where I'm from, just north of the city, about 20 minutes north of. But I went to college for 3 years and decided to quit to open up my own pizza shop back in the day with the same guys that I used to work for whenever I was 17 years old. So that's how I kind of got started in the industry. Been doing it since I was 17, like I said. The whole big long story of how I got down this way is for probably another day, but that's an interesting.
I was like, wait a minute,
interesting story in itself.
That's what this is about, though. This is literally. You have time.
I have. If I have time, let's roll.
Yes,
so
let's do it.
So when I was 17, I worked for these guys. I went to college, and I still work for them whenever I was in college. So I was running cross country and track whenever I was up there. But I would literally come back on Friday, work Friday night, go up and run my meet on Saturday, and come back on Sunday. It was 45-minute shot up, where I was. So I stayed in touch with them. I stayed in business with them, and I managed for them whenever, I came back home. Summertime, managed for them, and they opened up a second pizza shop, and that one just was a banger. It was in Freeport, Pennsylvania, not Freeport, Florida. They just did so great. It was, making money hand over fist. I managed for them, did full-time work for them. So we, in my third year of college, we started getting the idea to open up a third shop and kind of franchising out. So we had about 7 young guys all saving our money. We opened up a third shop. We gutted it. We built it. We did all the stuff ourselves. So I ran that one. My buddy Mike, who I moved down here with, that's the second part of the story. I moved down here with him. Mike ran the second one, and George Wolf was the original guy. It was his first shop. That the guy that we work for, he ran the first one. So we did our thing. We were all running our 3 businesses. The young guys all backed out. They saved, they got into the business. They helped us get it up and open, but each one of them backed out before the time came to open it. So when we got up to opening up that third shop, it was just me and one other guy. And then after a year, he backed out as well. So it ended up just being me. But anyways, we were doing our thing. After it's all said and done, the Freeport shop's doing great. The original shop's doing great. My shop's doing great, but we did weird things with the loan. We did 5-year loans instead of 15-year loans on all the business equipment and everything. So it was like we were just paying bills. We weren't making a lot of money from that shop, you know. Right. But in the middle of it all, the original owner came out of the closet. He was after 15 years of marriage, he came out of the closet and kind of, you know, let the word spread out. And his town, it was Freeport. That was his original hometown. That business went from here to here just because of one little thing, because of him coming out of the closet gay.
Wow.
So we had people driving by the shop yelling at us, you know, ordering from us and all that stuff. And it just shows small town Pennsylvania stuff. It's like, give me a break type situation, you know? So we didn't feel much from the third shop or the first shop as far as business going downhill from there. But the second shop was the one we really felt it from. So we were like, hey,
what year was that?
This was 2000, 2001, somewhere around there.
Wow.
So we just said, you know what? We said, you know what, the hell with it. Let's sell these shops. Let's move to Florida. You know what I mean? Like we all three were like we knew of the area because Mike, my old business partner, his sister-in-law lived down here. My uncle lived down here. He grew up in the bar area and whatnot. So we knew of the area. So after we had the idea, we're like, well, you know, let's kind of go through, let's go visit, see if we like it. And you know what I mean? We don't even need to necessarily open up a shop, but we have the opportunity to with what we're going to sell from our 3 shops, you know? So after it's all said and done, we came down to visit. We came down to visit in November. Steelers game on the water. I was at the beach that day. You know what I mean? Like, and that's exactly what happened, you know? That's exactly what happened. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm 25 years old. I'm like, why the hell not? You know what I mean? It would suck to move away from the family, but to give us opportunity and to see something different. And, you know, so we went through the process and we were like, all right, spring, let's go, let's move. At the very last minute, George backed out. He was like, he wanted to stay. He wanted to tough it out. You know, he ended up selling the third shop to some people. The second shop, the Freeport shop, he ran it for a little while, and then some things happened with the roadways where they had to shut it down and they had to sell to the state. So he kept his original shop for a little while and, you know, did his thing there. And me and Mike were like, okay, so we sold out of I sold out of just debt. You know what I mean? I didn't get anything from my shop that I was part owner of. Mike was 50-50 with that, and they had put some money into it, so he got a little chunk from it. So Mike and I moved down. George stayed there. He ran his shops up there, and I got into the restaurant industry and the clubs and the bars and all that stuff because that's what I knew how to do, and that's how I.
So did you finish school?
I didn't finish school. I quit.
At 3 years?
3 years. And but I changed majors after my first year, so it was like I was really starting my second year, you know what I mean? And I was in business management and, you know, I originally went for communications, but since I was like more in that mind frame and, and you know, the work that I was doing, that's what but the opportunity was there. And the things that I was learning in school I was learning way more by running business and managing and, you know, doing all that. So I ended up quitting and, you know, running that shop for a little while, and it taught me a lot about, you know, just everything. I mean, just all the little parts of business, you know, the taxes and you know, the payroll and, you know, obviously hiring and firing and keeping employees and stuff like that. But I was a delivery boy for my own shop because I wasn't making any money. So that's how I made it, you know, running my little Volkswagen around town and delivering pizzas and making a little cash that way and stuff. But it was a great learning experience, you know. But yeah, after all that was said and done, moved down here. I was 25 years old and I got into the nightclubs. It was the first real bar gig I had. I started working for a wedding company when I first moved down, and that was wild in itself. Like that was a whole nother business in itself, especially in Destin, Florida. You know, the brides and stuff just alone to deal with. You didn't want to mess with that, you know. So we did my first summer here was setting up weddings, chairs, and doing all the things and delivering stuff and taking things away and helping running that business. And then I got my first bartending gig was working at AJ's. They are down on the bottom. They had the boat was the Harbor Bell. So her wedding company was owned by AJ's. So I bartended on the Harbor Bell, and like for a frat party. It was the first one I did. I mean, you're talking like these guys just piled up, trying to get their drinks. I'm like, just get a double, man. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be, but you're gonna, drinking.
Because they're just finishing up and going back in the line. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I ended up slicing my hand. I ended up slicing my hand on a bottle the first day I was working and stuff. So, but that was my first bartending experience. You know what I mean? And then after that, I got a job bartending in the nightclubs. I bartended at Halta Moon for a little while, down on the harbor or down on the island. And that was a good experience in the nightclubs, but man, it was a change of pace, getting out of work at 2:00 in the morning and doing all that fun stuff. And then I got deeper into the nightclubs and worked for managed Nighttown for a lit's while. And that was a whole nother world.
I don't even know what that is.
Nighttown. You don't know what Nighttown is?
Oh, I don't think so.
So Nighttown's one of Destin's original nightclubs.
Okay.
It's a church now. But if you go back behind McGuire's, down that way, it was a warehouse that they turned into a nightclub, and it was
Cross Point now.
Cross Point Church. Yeah, so it was
the irony.
It was Bob Benezzi's first business. It was his baby.
A lot of holy water.
Yeah. They
had to cleanse that place.
They have on the walls if these walls could talk, And I mean, if you want to hear some stories of Nighttown days, those are just a whole nother ball of wax there. But yeah, so I managed for Nighttown, and the nightclub scene was not my thing. It was, I mean, I was getting out of work at 6 a.m, going home, and of course I didn't have a family at home or single. I was single and, didn't have kids or anything to worry about. So it was a lot easier, but still I didn't like sleeping all through the daytime and missing all the morning and getting up and work and doing the same thing 6 o'clock in the evening, you know what I mean? Getting out at 6 a.m. So, but yeah. So that's when I switched over to the restaurant side of things, and it was a lot easier getting out at, getting home by 11 versus, getting home at 6 a.m. So, but yeah, did that for a little while, and I worked for the Back Porch. Back Porch is one of those money making bartending gigs, and helped me get out of debt. It helped me get things. I mean, whenever I opened up my business, I was 21. I had student loan debt. I had credit card debt. I had business debt. So I moved down here with a lot of debt. You know what I mean? So, but the Back Porch was the one gig that helped me get out of that and helped me get my finances correct and roll with that. So I worked there for them for 4 years. And then when the craft bar opened up, July of 2014 in Destin, that was the original concept of it. And they pulled me over with a couple friends, and I'm still the last man standing in that building from the original crew that worked there. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's 2007?
2014 is when we opened that one up. Yeah. So we're on this July is our 10th year anniversary for the Craft Bar Destin. So that's saying something, working in a tough market in Destin and surviving and thriving in Destin for 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Few and far between, right? Because there's been a lot of turnover and just, like, I guess just in general period, like you see these, they come and go. What is it? It's now I think called Mi Casita, but that's been like 4 or 5 different things over in the shopping center here in Niceville. That thing's turned over like just. And
I feel like some buildings are just cursed too. You know what I mean? With business to, it is obviously about location and where you're at and whatnot, but I mean, there's some buildings that are just cursed, business. Then they turn into a bank, and they usually end up doing well,
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I think you said you listened to the realtors, Andrew and Tiffany, and talking about storage units and how, like, I didn't realize like the mullet one, I guess, had gone up for sale or something like that. And I'm like, but how do you convert that building? Like we talked a little bit about that, because that's like, I mean, at least like a restaurant, like you said, you can convert into a bank, but storage units are built a certain way with all the rigidity of like every room. I mean, you have to do a lot of reconstruction, which is like, that's a lot of overhead to assume that kind
in the
of
beginning.
I know.
But once it's there,
I mean, that's
maintenance is nothing.
That's true. Wow, that's great. So yeah, and I want to, like, as we dig in a little bit, like chronologically later, then you can talk about the family side of the house.
Sure.
So, all right, Cory, over to you, man. What do we got for the background side of the house?
So oddly enough, also from Pennsylvania.
How are you? Philly?
Just outside Lansdale.
Okay.
But we moved when I was like 3 or 4.
Okay.
To this area, Shalimar. So I've spent most of my life in this area. So I've moved away several times after high school. I went to college out at USF in Tampa. And then I'm sure you remember Blue Point in
Oh yeah.
the Commons there.
Oh yeah.
I was their exec chef for a little bit, and they moved me out to Colorado.
Where are you?
And-
So Blue Point. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Blue Point was like the crowd that we wanted whenever it worked at nighttime, we went on like ride arounds, you know what I mean? Like hey, who's busy? You know, what's going on? And Blue Point was always busy.
So what did you go? You didn't say what you went to college for.
I actually went to college for accounting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
My dad was numbers. My brother was numbers. Like I went to school for accounting.
Wow.
Which actually helps a lot.
Oh, I mean, I can
Yeah,
imagine.
for sure.
Unbelievable amount. Everyone thinks I went to culinary school. I did not.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Blue Point,
Yeah.
and then how long did you stay there?
Well, I was cooking well before then. I was all through high school. I was cooking at Hooters.
Oh,
you
okay.
know. When I went to school down in Tampa, I was cooking at Hooters' rival, which is Kerr's Wing House.
Oh,
Who they would just poach old Hooter managers to run their stuff. So I already knew what I was getting into down there. But I mean, I just cooked all through college and everything like that. So it was always there. And then while still in school back home here, I was cooking at Blue Point, and some opportunities started popping up, and couldn't really pass on it. So I stopped going to school, took a sous chef position, and eventually exec chef position. And they started moving me around a little bit. That's really how I got heavy into restaurants, because it was never really my plan. It was just a means to an end while in school. But it turned out I was really good at it. And,
yeah.
and I just stuck with that. I mean, I've bounced around a lot of different restaurants. I kind of had a life expectancy of about 1.5 years, and then I would get bored, go do something else, you know, different restaurant, different area, move cities, you know. But I mean, as far as restaurants go, that's kind of the way it goes. I mean,
Yeah, it is
like
too.
you said, being somewhere since 2014, it's
Yeah.
rare.
And
It's rare.
And we have some staff that way as well. You know what I mean? Like which says a lot about, you know, the environment anyways, you know what I mean? Because it is. I mean, you know, it's a competitive market, and you know, it's one of those things where you piss off a chef, or you piss off somebody in your kitchen, especially those are to me the more important guys. You know, they can get a job next door getting paid probably $2 more an hour and start today. You know what I mean?
Especially right now. I mean, you have fast food restaurants hiring, like Whataburger and Destin's hiring people at like 20 an hour. And we're a small market restaurant here in Niceville. How do we compete?
Yeah.
That's exactly
But
it.
you just create a better environment that people want to be in. I mean, better than Whataburger. I mean,
So Cory, with your respective going to Blue Point, jumping around, sous chef, then the executive chef side of the house, did you meet Joey in that time frame, or was that after the fact?
Joey was years later. I'll be honest, when they were promoting me at Blue Point, I was not ready. I was 2021. And like I said, most of my experience was just being one of the fastest cooks. I didn't know stuff.
Right.
I mean, I knew numbers. So, I mean, that was the benefit. But as far as, you know, managing people, I was young, aggressive, and just, I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got thrown in the deep end, and I just had to grow with it. I actually met Joey. So you were talking about back porch and you know, all the different big places around here. If you work in restaurants in this area, you pretty much bounce around at all the same bigwig restaurants. I mean, I was at Fuddpuckers, and that's actually where I met Joey.
Oh, okay.
We both worked at Hooters, but at different times.
Oh.
So we just missed each other there. But we actually met at Fuddpuckers in Destin. We only worked together for a short time there, and then I moved to Tampa again to take a partnership chef job with somebody that I used to work with that opened their own place down there. And then when I was moving back, now Joey is managing. Do you remember when Fudd's moved buildings on the island, and they opened the big Fuds on the island.
The arcade and everything.
Yeah, the arcade. They had Fud Shuckers in the back. They
even
needed
had some boat slips back there and everything else.
They were renting boats, jet skis, all that stuff. They went all in.
They did.
I would have kept the small building that was making insane money with a lot less overhead. But
yeah, my buddy was one of the originals that worked out there whenever they opened that up too, and I saw the potential in it. But man, they went big.
It's a lot. Well, I mean, they were trying to run like 3 different restaurants in one. Downstairs, their like waiting area was its own restaurant where they were doing like pizzas and appetizers. Then upstairs, you had like the more traditional Fud Puckers where they were doing, the same menu that they were doing out in Destin. And then out back, they opened Fud Shuckers, which was oysters and crab legs and all this other stuff. I mean, it's just a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of moving parts for sure for one building.
So you met him at Fud Puckers, and then did you just establish a relationship that just maintained over time? Is that what happened?
So when we were crossing paths at Fuds in Destin, we just kind of, like I said, we worked together for a very short time. He was training to be one of the front of house managers at the time. I was running or helping run their catering, which at the time was called Artistic Catering. I think they sold that to somebody by now. And I was one of the daytime kitchen managers.
Gotcha.
And then I left again, like I said, for Tampa. And when I came back is when they were designing and opening Fud Shuckers, because that opened well after they moved into the new building. And Joey wanted me there. He knew I was back and they needed somebody there. So that's really where our relationship kind of came together, because I was running that. He was the GM of the whole place.
Oh,
now.
wow.
Yeah. He's dealing with, I think it was 186 employees.
Holy cow.
It was nuts.
Holy cow.
Because I mean, they had, a gator area at this one too. So you got the gator handlers, you got servers for all 3 restaurants, bussers across the board, multiple layers of management, the retail, they had the retail there too. So I mean, he was overseeing like 180 plus.
Oh gosh,
that's a big gig there.
Yeah,
that is huge.
Yeah,
that's a little ridiculous. No,
yeah,
but yeah.
But yeah, that's where him and I really started developing our relationship. It's probably about a year after that, Fuds decided to let him go, which in my opinion was a huge mistake. And that's when he started over at the original Waterfront Crab Shack on the island, or not on the island, but on 98 in Fort Walton. That was a project for sure. But he asked me to come check it out a couple different times, asked me if I'd be interested in coming over too. And I was not.
I love you, bud.
Yeah. I walked through and I was like, no, absolutely not. But, one day at Fuds, I just got tired of some stuff. And I was like, if you can get, this salary and everything in writing, so I know for real that, it's not,
right,
going to bite me in the ass.
Yeah.
And he was able to, and him and I, took that place and turned it around, and that place is probably doing, I'd say 4 to 5 million a year now.
Wow.
So
that little place too, that's impressive.
That is awesome.
They've built onto it. While we were there, we did a whole patio rebuild and closed that whole thing. And since we've left, they've put a lot more money into it as well. So I mean, it's doing well.
Yeah,
it's doing well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. The reason I ask, right, is because I didn't really mention it earlier, but because you guys are like, is it co-owners? Is that the appropriate terminology?
Yes, and we have another partner as well, the married couple who owns a fishing charter business and a couple other businesses.
I gotcha.
So they're good friends of ours as well.
I think I met him. I think
Joey as well.
Oh, well, they're both Joeys.
They're both Joeys.
I'm like 98%. Because has he worked the truck at all?
Yes.
Yeah, that I've definitely met him before. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Very cool. Wow, that's crazy. So I do want to just ask real quick about family background. That way we get a little bit of background before we get into even more of the nitty gritty here side. So So Todd, just a little bit about the family side of the house. I know now, right? Engaged, lots of children running around.
Yes, sir.
More to come. Dogs,
More to come. Very
animals,
soon.
fish, all that stuff. Just tell us a little bit about the just the family side of Todd.
So I'm one of three brothers. I'm the youngest. Obviously grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My oldest has moved down here. My oldest brother, he lives in the Valpy side of Niceville. He was ex-Army and hated Pennsylvania, the gray skies, and, seasonably depressed every time November hit for a good 6-7 months or however long winter wants to last. You know what I mean? So
They have bats up there.
I said, come down here, bro. It's sunny. He moved down here, lost like 65 pounds his first year here, just being active in the wintertime and getting the dogs out and just, not sitting in the house in the wintertime. You know what I mean?
Great.
So, but the rest of my family still lives up there. My brother, has a boy. My nephew is the same age as my stepdaughter. He's 10 years old. And then my mom and dad split when I was like 4 years old. My dad remarried. We're the Brady Bunch. She had 3 kids. We had 3 kids. Motorhome everywhere we went.
Oh,
and,
great.
all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, everybody's still up there. My stepbrother lives down in South Florida. My oldest stepbrother lives in Washington, and my stepsister lives in Pennsylvania still.
Wow.
But yeah, down here I was, single and going through it for a long time and trying to figure it all out, and almost gave up. And when I was about 40, I met my fiance, which
Roundabout.
her and I already knew each other, and she was previously married, and we just kind of everything aligned, and we got together. And I knew her daughter since she was a baby, so it all was like really special to be a part of her daughter's life as well. And we have a little boy together. His name's Ronan, 18 months old, and he's probably running around your house right now.
Running around back there or swimming. One of the
one of the two. But he's, you guys know how it is when you have kids. It's a whole nother ball game in such a good way. You know what I mean? Like such a good way. Being a dad is the most amazing thing, in the world. It really is.
And a dad with a beard.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Dad's with beard.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we were talking about this earlier. if you're audio and you're not visually, so Cory has a Dads with Beards Are Better t-shirt on, and Todd and Cory both have baseball caps on, and I am failing to have a baseball cap on, but we all have beards,
They all have
and we're all dads, so that's pretty legit. So there's something here. There's an anchor. There's an anchor there. So that's awesome. So you have that going on, and then
Yep. And
from my
one more on the
understanding,
way.
that's what I was gonna say. You have a one in the oven, huh?
One in the oven. One coming September 20 is the due date, and obviously Kate will be hoping for a lot earlier in September, and probably swearing my name every day in August because she's already right there. You know what I mean? She's that baby's giving her. She's like, if this one was the second one, I might not have wanted a third. This one's giving her a hard time right now. So she's been nauseous a lot. God bless her. God bless her, man. I just try to just do what I can for her and get to cook food and just make sure everything's try to clean the house and just do the things that she can't do.
Now, is she still working, or
she's a beast, bro. She worked last time till she was 9 months.
Gee.
9 months. And the day that we were having Ronan was a Monday morning. And you know how Monday at Craft Bar can be burger night and everything. I'm like, I'm cool. I got to do burger night. Let's go. Let's do. She was up at 4:00 in the morning, and she was like, yeah, we're, I was like, just let me know if we need to. She's like, we'll just call in the morning whenever they open up. And, she's on the ball doing her thing. And she was going to go to work that day.
What?
She was like, maybe if I go to work, it'll just kind of help, get it. I'm like, you are not going into work today. All right. She's
Here's
a
your
vet.
burger, and this is a baby.
So she's a vet tech. She's a vet tech. And she, hopefully now at this point, she's 26 weeks. She's not really wrestling dogs as much and doing those things. And they try to push her up to the front, so she's just taking calls and coordinating things, but she doesn't like that side of things. You know what I mean? So, but she's a beast, bro. She'll work until 9 months, even if she's hurting. Some of these, so there's a couple girls and that got pregnant after Ronan came, after she had worked up until 9 months, and they're
the bar
like
high.
4 months in, and they're like, I can't do this, like, you know. And she's looking at them like, and I'm like, baby, you're different. You're different. You know what I mean? So don't look down on them, but at the same time, you know what you can do. You know?
Talk a little.
That's exactly it.
That's it.
Talk a
Little
little.
smack talk.
Yeah,
It's pretty funny.
But yeah, she's due in September, and like I said, she'll probably be working, you know, as much as she possibly can up until then.
Man, that's nuts. Well, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you. We will need it. I'm tying it up after that, bro. I'm too old.
We
for
know
it.
it's coming.
That's right. That's 100%. Yeah. All right, Cory. What do we got from the family side?
So oddly enough, damn near the same story.
Is that right?
Even the same months.
Is that right?
Asher was born in November, like Ronan was.
Yep.
Bodie born in September,
Wow.
which yours is coming.
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
So similar, single for the longest time, all that. Also from divorced parents, step siblings, everything like that. I got a brother and a sister, full blood. And then I have a younger stepsister with my dad's remarriage and an older stepsister with my mom's remarriage. Younger stepsister currently in Colorado. She's a nurse. She's married out there. She's an awesome wife. Like, her wife is awesome. She's like, it's got to be like 6'2".
Oh, wow.
She's awesome. And then my older stepsister is in Ohio. Married, kids, all that. My brother is actually now in Crestview.
Oh, wow.
He lives right up the road from me. Married, 2 kids.
Oh.
And my sister actually lives like 1 or 2 neighborhoods over from me.
Really?
Yep, up in Crestview as
Wow.
well.
So they all relocate. Oh, well, you said you moved when you were like 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my brother lived in Tampa for a good while. He actually went to Penn State.
Oh, okay, cool.
After graduation, he was working in the city in Philly, and then they transferred him to Tampa. So he was there for a long time. He was doing actuarial science work, like life expectancy stuff. You know, like I said, he was numbers.
Yeah.
We're all numbers. Super boring. But he got into like mortgage stuff. He was doing, the back end paperwork on home loans. And then when 2008 came,
All right.
the big dropout, he actually joined the Army at 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy cow.
So he did that for almost 10 years. He is now medically retired, civilian contractor on Eglin.
There you go.
He's doing really well.
Yeah. Not a bad gig.
That's crazy. My brother joined when he was 29. Joined the Army.
It's like I was gonna wait till Cory was done, but it's super weird. Maybe, but not in a bad way. But it's very like
what did he do?
He was 82nd Airborne, jumping out of planes, and but he only lasted 4 years. He wasn't.
He was a medic. My brother was
Okay.
a medic.
All right. Yeah. I think he was telecommunications or something. But
it was the jumping out of planes messed up his back.
Yep.
So,
Oh yeah.
hard landings.
He's still fighting the VA at the moment. You know?
yeah.
My brother, it took some time, and there was a bunch of back pay and stuff they had to do once they got all his percentages right. But yeah, it was.
It's very eerily similar. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sitting on this side, I want to tell all the listeners right now, like, hey, like sitting on this side, it's like it's not creepy, but it's definitely like hair raising.
That's wild.
It's like
That's wild. It's really
there's
cool.
a lot of similarities. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Cory.
So I met. Well, my wife and we've been on each other's Facebooks for a lot of years, but we never really knew each other. But we actually met in late 2018, like actually met finally. And
Through some, was it DMing a little bit?
a little bit.
Dropping in the DMs.
A little bit. I'm trying to remember. I wished her a happy birthday. And then this was a little while after we had opened the locals. So, I was in the middle of this whole life changing, owning your own business, trying to figure out which way is up. And she said, I am really proud of everything you've done, blah, blah, blah. And, this is All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. So we her birthday was coming up, and I went out to. She was living at the Palms at the time. I went out. They were having like a pool party or something, so I went out there. It was a little much for me, so I was kind of like, eh. And then we kind of went back and forth. She says I ghosted her. I have a different recollection, but we'll say she's right.
Yeah, you won't win.
Yeah. But eventually, we started spending time together. I got to know her son, Cedric. He was 9 or 10 at the time, 16 now. But yeah, we got close fast. So we've been together about 6 years now, married for 3 of those. I've since adopted Cedric. His dad was never involved, which it makes the adoption process easier because he didn't really put up a fight. The dad,
Right.
That part was hard trying to find him and deal with that.
Yeah.
But, because for some reason in his head, even after the adoption went through, we would go after him for child support. I don't know where he was getting his law advice, but I was like, dude, look, once this is done, you don't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not coming for you for nothing. Like,
You haven't worried about anything up until now. Don't worry about it the rest of your life.
exactly.
Thanks, but no thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably been, I think that was a little over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago that the adoption went through. But like I said, that part made it easy that he wasn't really involved, but also you don't wish that on any child that, the feeling of your dad didn't want you type of deal.
Yeah.
But luckily Cedric's pretty resilient, and he never wanted anything to do with him because of the feeling of like, well, you didn't want me, I don't want you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It can go one of two ways. You can either be like that, or you can, do the why doesn't he want me type deal. But
Sure.
Cedric was always big middle finger. Like,
Right.
Meh.
So he knew like at a younger age that a dad existed. Like
Yes.
he knew that part, right?
Yes.
That was okay. Yeah. It's interesting. All the stories you hear, right, is like, some of the kids that don't find out till later. And now they're very much talking about like building it into their storyline. Like you don't have to like just cut it out at one point or you talk about it. It's just part of the storyline is like, hey, because I mean the kids, right? I mean, right? They're too young. They wouldn't even understand. Like Casey, picked her up. It was during COVID. She was 2.5, I think. She was in her 5th home at 2.5, by the way.
Wow.
5th home. Pick her up, put her in the van, never asked. So we drove away, never asked or talked about previous families or circumstances after that. Just done. I mean, she does have, it's called like, I don't remember. My wife's going to kill me. It's like separation disorder, something, or attachment disorder, where like we go and she would just hug and like go randomly. She has no stranger danger thing, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of built in because like everyone's family, right? But now it's like way different as she's gotten older.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting, all the different psychological things that kids go through. And it doesn't even have to be like an adoption side. It could be biological too. There's a ton of good books about like the trauma and stuff. And I don't know. There's a guy on, he works at Crosspoint. Do you guys know Tyler Fuller? Ring a bell, Tyler?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's got 6 kids, 4 of which were fostered and adopted. And we have a whole podcast to talk about it and like all the different ways to adopt and all those things. The point being is, it's just interesting as I researched, right? And I wish I would have done some of this research, like even from a biological standpoint, because there's some of these things are some of the little, I don't know, nuggets, if you will, that I've learned over time that have just like, I don't say help me because I still, right. It's like a struggle bus being a dad every day.
Yeah.
Like I mean, literally the hardest job, I'm sure you guys can agree, like hands down outside of anything I'm sure you've ever experienced, but it is
also
like,
so rewarding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
oh, snuggles. Yeah, man. I tell you what, when they're like looking at you smiling and then like Courtney had a shirt on with letters today and holding Cashel, who same, right. 18 months or whatever. And she's like, see, and he's like, say, wow. And he starts doing it. She's like, oh, whoa, I wasn't ready for that yet, little dude. Like, when did that start coming out? I mean,
Yeah.
holy cow, all these different timelines. So, but I do anything. I don't want to cut you off. Anything else as far as the family goes?
I made 2 more kids.
That's true.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
All on my own. So Asher is 3. He was a COVID baby. That was exciting times.
Yes.
We had a lot of issues with him when he was born. He ended up being They said he was going to be about 8 pounds 2 ounces about a week before he was born. So they were like, well, we're going to go ahead and push you in a week or two early. And we're like, all right, 10.8.
Wow, 10.8.
10.5 pounds.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Golly.
That's her like nib high football rules thing. Like anytime like we're arguing, she's like 10 pounds, 8 ounces.
Can't argue, bro. You can't.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's the trump card right there.
But he got stuck. He wasn't breathing. He had shoulder dystocia.
Wow.
Had to get rushed to the NICU. All that stuff. It was a mess. And then we had other medical stuff happen down the line. And then Bodie was super easy compared to Asher. So Bodie is 9 months old now.
God, I can't believe it's been 9 months.
He's standing up, starting to walk.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Just want to push it over. Stop it.
Don't you feel like as you get older, like perception of time accelerates?
Yes. Unbelievably so.
Like back in the day, it sort of like drags, and then especially as you have kids and stuff, and then it just like it feels like the pedal just starts to get mashed.
You
down.
add a kid to the mix, man, and it's just full throttle for sure, like you said.
That's nuts. Yeah, in fact, Cory, this is why, right? We had to not delay, but pushed it back a little bit because you had some circumstances last time with Asher.
Asher's had some heart issues over the years, and they came back pretty aggressively. So we now have a good med cocktail he's on for now.
Awesome.
And then when he's big enough, he has to have a heart ablation to get rid of a faulty pathway that's messing with his rhythms.
Oh man.
When he was almost a month old, we finally, we were at the hospital for about a week when he was born because of everything else that was going on with him. But about 3 weeks after we got home, he was about a month old. Have you ever heard of the Owlette sock?
Yeah.
We had that on him, and
We have one of those.
that was one of those registry things. If we get it, cool. If not, meh. We got it.
Same.
And I'm glad we did. His heart one night was just going nuts. Our phones lit up bright red, and it was reading 272 beats a minute.
Whoa.
Wow.
And we were like, put it back on the thing. Like it's messed up. Like that can't be right. We reset it, put it back on. Phones went nuts. So rushed him to the hospital. He ended up getting life flighted out to Pensacola. We spent some days there. So he has what's called a SVT. It's a supraventricular tachycardia. And it just basically faulty rhythms set his heart to just go nuts.
Wow.
So they had him on meds for a year. They said a lot of the times the younger kids, they'll grow out of it. Had him on meds for a year. Then they weaned him off. Had no issues for almost 2 years. And then out of the blue, it just started again. So now he's on a different set of meds because that original med wasn't working anymore because they tried to put him back on it. It wasn't working. And I think when we were they got him on those other meds, we got him back out of the hospital. He was good for a couple weeks. They had him on a heart monitor at home. It turned out that he had a couple more episodes. So they altered his meds, and it was that morning or that afternoon, he passed out, convulsed, was puking. So I had to get him back to the hospital, and I think that was the week we were supposed to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's exciting times.
Yeah.
The heck of an excuse, bro. Heck of an excuse to get out of this thing.
Well, I mean, it was almost right. You guys are almost trying to pull chalks to go celebrate Flag Day. So, thank you for being here.
Flag
That
Day
was today. I gotta go.
I almost forgot. Oh my goodness, I have so many things to do. Yeah, right. That was pretty good stuff. No, I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, I know it's the reason I say that is because I think it's an interesting perspective that comes to light, right, in your own industry and or your roles that you guys have both assumed now is being, you guys said, hey, we're single, sort of, slinging drinks and doing the respective working at different bars and restaurants. And then, you get a little bit older and you slowly start to go up the chain, whether that becomes the entrepreneur side where you actually own or be a co-owner of the restaurant, even though you did that at a younger age and now being the GM, right. And you've been there and sustained, 10 coming up on 10 years. at the craft bar in Destin. So it's interesting because now, like, even when you start to have employees and you get older, right, they almost, not going to say become like your children's age, but you have a different view, right? There's, in my opinion, right there, like, just again, same boat here, is like when you have people that you supervise, if you will, like, you just, there's a little, I'm going to say a little bit more care, right there. Before, it's sort of like a hard, whatever, I got you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm late, my kid, blah, blah, blah. You're like, I don't care. Like, why weren't you here? And
Right.
you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. I have a kid. I completely get it. They crapped all over you. Like, you know, like, okay.
It is way different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm just curious if you have like just one each, if you can remember. I'm trying to build this up so you can think about it in your mind. Do you have a story? I would say, like, you know, assumingly close, right? That once you had a kid, you either reflected back on or changed your mind, if you will, that came up, you know, after that. So Todd, I'll start with you.
Man, I don't know if I necessarily have certain story that I could recollect anyways. If you have anything?
I was probably going to go down the same road as you. There's not like one instance, but dealing with like we were just talking about Asher's stuff, like realizing like I don't give a about work right now.
Right.
Like I'll call in, I'll find people to work, whatever, or like it's different for me right now because I own the place, so I have to make sure it's working. But even in my head, like if I didn't own this place and they wouldn't give me this time off, I'd quit. Like,
Yeah.
Which was never a thing before. I'd pump 80, 90 hours a week, nothing. Like, whatever, no problem. Like I would always put somebody else's business before my health, my time, my everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can agree with that for sure.
Totally different now.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like, you know, not that family wasn't first before, but it is family first. And there's a reason why I'm still there is because I built a team of people that are in the similar situation. You know, one of my best friends is my assistant manager. You know, they've seen Ronan and my family from the very beginning. So they, you know, I've had to bring them in. I got to bring them in every Monday night for burger night, right before burger night kicks off, because Kate gets off work, and you know we don't have
right before
a lot
she
of help.
has a baby.
Yeah, you know, yeah. But we don't have a lot of help. You know what I mean? So people see that side of things, and even like, you know, hey, my sitter fell through on a Friday morning, guys, y'all gonna just have to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll let you know, and I'll get the on-call set up, and you know, do what I can do. But you know, so there's forgiveness on my side, or on their side for me, which also gives me forgiveness for certain situations. You know, now granted, I don't have a lot of employees with kids. A lot of them are in their mid 20s and you know, early 20s and whatnot. You know, but I know stuff happens, you know what I mean? You know, especially with the family, hey, I got to go, you know, we'll get it taken care of. That's why I have the people on that I have on that can take care of situations, you know?
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, Chris, you know, you've met Chris, you know, Chris, he was with me at the shack for 4 years, and he's been with me over here he came over, I think, a year after we opened. So he's been with me over here for 5 years.
Wow.
I mean, and that he'll get whatever done, however it needs to get done. He knows how to get it done. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you opened with this, that we've built crews that have been around us for long periods of time, lower turnover, you know, and they become family, and they help you like family. And,
Right.
That's it too. Yeah. And that's huge for doing what we do and having a family at home that is your priority as well. You know what I mean? Is to build a team around you that realizes that and knows where you're at with that whole situation.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you guys have, so I'm going to sort of start tying this in a little bit with the more business centric side, which, you know, may or may not have you concluded that has already occurred, but not necessarily. But have you found, because I know you do for sure, Cory, I don't know if you do, Todd, but do you guys have like Christmas parties and other like external gatherings where you get your teams together to sort of just celebrate like your employees?
Yeah. I wish we did it more often, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, we're under, you know, we're one of those places that's open every day of the year. Right. And I had to push just for this last few years to be off on Thanksgiving, because I'm like, we've got 8 people here and we're running a slow lunch number and not even paying to turn the lights on. So let's not do that on Thanksgiving and let these guys have their day with their family and their friends and everything else, because that's important as well, you know. But yeah, we try to do Christmas parties and things like that. It's just, you know, hey, we got to close early on Sunday and I'll go out at 9:00, you know what I mean? And then comes the family, you know, hey, I can't go, man. I got kids at home. You know what I mean? It's tough, you know. The last one we had we do bar cleanups every few months where the whole crew comes in, and it's tough to do it in the morning. You know, it's tough to do it at night. Sunday's one of the better days to do it, where we can close at 7:30, 8:00 and not lose much business and not be there till 1:00 in the morning type situation. But the last time we, around Christmas time, right after Christmas, we had a bar cleanup, and, you know, we didn't have a Christmas party this year. So it was one of those things. And I'm just like, I'm racking my brain, like, these guys, they work so hard, you know what I mean? And they're all asking about it, and they've all just kind of stopped asking, like, hey, you know, like they've stopped asking if we're going to have a Christmas party, because I kind of realized we weren't. So I brought everybody in. I'm like, we're going to do, you know, cleanup meeting and do this and that and the other thing. And we chatted for about half hour, 45 minutes. And then I was like, all right. And then, you know, everybody, when they come in for the cleaning meetings, they try to get stuff done right away. You know, like, hey, start clearing the bar. There's still customers there. I'm like, don't do too much, because I don't want to drag people out of here, you know. But so that I was like, this time I was like, don't do anything. Don't do anything before we start. So we sat down, we had our meeting, and then usually we do the cleaning for about 3 hours or so. And I was like, all right, well, we're going to do things a little bit differently this year. Everybody grab some beer from next door, jump in your cars. We're going to go to the bowling alley, and we're going to go bowling and hang out. And this is our Christmas party. You know what I mean? So like kind of one of those things where, and everybody, like, the response to that alone was like, I was like, we still have cleaning to do. We still have a nasty bar. We still got, you know, so we'll do those in the next month or so, you know what I mean? But let's go out, let's have a good time. And, you know, thank y'all for everything that you guys do. And let's just go enjoy ourselves. You know what I mean? And it was the response to that, you know, when they didn't expect that, was great for us. You know what I mean? And Matt, my buddy and my assistant manager, he's like, that's why you're the man. That's why you're the GM. You know what I mean? Because I would have never thought to do something like that. And the morale has just shot through the roof just because of a simple thing like that, you know? And I was like, don't tell the bosses. We were cleaning. We were cleaning, okay?
Where does this air? Wait a minute. I'm going to have to edit this out.
But at the same time, I mean, I even if they would have asked, yes, we went bowling, man. We needed a Christmas party. We needed to get together. You know what I mean? Because these guys, they just work their asses off all year long. You know, we're 7 days a week. We don't close on any day of the week. Like, even our wine bar, I swear at them every Sunday, because they're closed every Sunday. And I go to my office in the back. They're in the same building as us, you know, and they're lights out and everything. I'm like, first F-bomb, fuck you, wine bar. You're closed every Sunday. Hey, how long did we get into that? We got about 30 or 40 minutes in.
That was fantastic. We're good. No, we're good.
YouTube will never know.
Oh my God. That's great. That's great. Yeah. So Cory, I know you guys have at least one, right? At least one.
So we do Christmas parties every year. Either we'll close early that day or just be closed completely. We usually try to close the following day too, in case people get a little sauced up.
Yep.
Smart. Always check the mug shots the next day. make sure everybody made it home. We didn't this past year, but in a lot of years past, like midsummer, we'll pick a day and close, or like just after summer, we'll pick a day and close and bring everybody out on pontoon boats and do stuff like that. A lot of the staff, like I said, it's very family oriented. So like everyone's on everyone's Facebook, so everyone kind of hangs out with each other outside of work already, and you know they'll all do stuff. They'll get in the group me and be like, hey, I want to, like Liba, our one of our managers and main bartenders, she'll be like, hey, I want to get as many people who are off. If you guys want to go do a bar crawl or do this or do that.
Or kayak. I think she kayaks quite a bit too. Yeah.
But she's having to take a break from all that.
I know.
Got a baby on the way.
I'm like, hey, how many cheeseburgers? That's not a cheeseburger? Uh-oh.
Yep. That was surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah. Well, Gibbs is a good dude, so I'm glad that's all going well for them. Okay, Cory. So it sounds awesome. So the Christmas parties that you have, and you have to check the the daily blog, if you will, the next one, to make sure that none of your folks were
So we call it the blog.
the police blog, that they will be showing up to work and they're not like, hey, come get me out of jail or whatever.
I've been that guy.
Yeah, well, some people, trials and tribulations, right? Especially in certain industries.
It used to be the day after Billy Bowlegs Festival back in the day.
Man.
That was like working in a nightclub.
Year they're doing it.
What's that?
Isn't this the last year they're doing it or something?
I know it's not on the same scale as it used to be for sure, but I did hear the same thing. They might not be doing it anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. That was always like, you always had that one employee that, Billy Bowlegs got him.
So I know, and I would like to transition here. I know that y'all have different roles, and I'm very curious about the perspectives. So correct me if I'm incorrect here. So Todd, you're considered the general manager of the Craft Bar Destin. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then Cory, you're tri-owner, or however that is, right? Part of the ownership of the Locals Eatery. And from the right terminology is there's like back side of the house and front side of the house. Is that how y'all use that?
Front of house, back of house.
Front of the house, back of the house. Okay. So, Todd, just a little bit, as far as like the GM side, is that considered the front or back?
It's more front of house, but I still have an overseeing of the back of house. And, I do have a kitchen manager who does the hiring and the firing, scheduling, and all that stuff for just the kitchen itself.
Okay.
But at the same time, I still oversee it and have input and everything else with what goes on in the back of the house as well. My side, I run more front of house. That's all me as far as who comes in, who's doing the work, and all that stuff. But,
so definitively, does front of the house mean like not the kitchen, but the like the forefronting, like
absolutely.
The customer side?
Yeah,
is that
the customer side of things, the things that the customers do see. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Talking bartenders, servers, hostesses, all that.
Okay. But holistically, so that's your main, and then you have a kitchen manager, but does the GM, are they over the kitchen manager as well? Is
technically, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not over, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's how it is. At the end of the day, if there's problems with the kitchen and the kitchen manager's not doing what they need to do, then I need to step in and do what he's supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? I've even had to, there's times where, front of house they're covered, they're doing good. The kitchen's failing, kitchen's running high ticket times and stuff like that. Someone didn't show up, somebody's late or whatever. I've had to jump on the line. I've had to, jump back there on the fry side or the salad side. And I don't want to be on the grill, but I will if I need to. You know what I mean?
Burger?
Yeah, cooking at home, I could hit a good medium rare, but cooking 50 burgers at the same time, I haven't done that. Honestly, I mean, working the pizza shop and owning the pizza shop back in the day,
right.
I used to work the grill, and it was, how it is. It's like, it's actually really cool coordinating everything and like, all right, this is going to be a lot faster than this, and that kind of thing. But I haven't done it on a big scale as far as a restaurant that seats 100 plus people, that kind of thing.
What's your so Monday night, is that busier than like the weekends for y'all?
Monday night's our busiest kitchen night of the week.
Is it really?
Yeah, before Friday, before Saturday and everything. It's a burger night. We've been doing it since we opened. It used to be half off burgers, but we were just losing our ass on it whenever the food costs went up as high as they did. So now it's about 40% off the burgers, but we run it from 5 to 9. Everybody knows about it now. We start off the night with 70% of our tables already reserved.
Wow.
Because they know, and the way we have to do it is like, we need to take those reservations because, people show up with, 12 people every week, you know what I mean? And like, okay, we know you're coming. We'd rather set the table aside for you, have it ready, get you in at 5 o'clock or 5:15, get you all taken care of and wait for the next wave of people. Because, when you get to tourist season, a lot of people are coming out at 6:30, 7 o'clock, you know what I mean? So
from like the GM perspective, like what would you say, like that day specifically, like how do you handle it? Like what is your, like you go in and then what are you doing? Are you just like, hey, how's it going? What do you do? Are you like a fill-in, kind of role thing? Like,
yeah,
what do you...
I mean, as far as my role goes, whenever I'm running the floor and I'm, working the days that I'm working, I'm the backup for anybody that needs help. Obviously, I'm the guy that's that's making sure the orders are coming in and, doing all that side of things, payroll and all the things in between there. But at the end of the day, I'm the guy that's talking to the tables. I'm the guy that's, like I said, jumping on the line if I need to jump on the line, if they're dying back there, expoing food, running food, making sure the host is doing okay and, running things correctly up there, jumping on the bar if they're getting their butts kicked during happy hour, you know what I mean? Like you kind of need to know how to do everything, fixing a toilet, if a toilet's going down,
That's important.
I mean, it's just the things, you know what I mean? Like it's really one of those positions where, you've got to multitask and you've got to be able to be available to help wherever and whenever is needed. You know what I mean? So I do have guys that I trust that run it on my days off. And, I just ask them to do the bare minimum. I take care of everything else that I need to take care of. Just run the floor and make sure everything's going good out there. You don't need to be back worrying about money. You don't need to be, worrying about the little things. Just make sure the bar's stocked, ready to go. Make sure the employees are there and doing their jobs.
So does the kitchen manager order like the food, or is that you?
Yeah, kitchen manager orders the food. They know what they go through. They know their pars and everything else. They even
what did you say it was called? A what? Par?
The par of what they're using for the week, and you know what I mean. They know if they run into burger night and they've only got enough for 40 burgers, they're gonna run out.
What does that stand for?
So basically, what you're doing is what you need on hand, and based on past sales roughly what you go through. So if he's going to go through 60 pounds of ground beef that night and they only have 20 on hand,
right,
par level 60, he knows he needs to order 40. So
hard delta. Okay, got it.
And even still, like the little things, like they order produce for the bar. And we go through a lot of fresh ingredients because we make the craft cocktails and everything. So,
fantastic.
So they know about what we go through on a day. I appreciate that. It's the fun side of things, but they know what we go through even up there. You know what I mean? Like, and they, but then again, you don't want to over order and sit on a bunch of product and things go bad. And then your food costs are out of whack and things like that too. So,
and I do want to talk about that here in a second about the trend and seasonal stuff. And I mean, because it's over time, right? And I think, it's interesting you say that because even just talking with people, the longer you stay open, the easier that is ish, I would say. But like the beginning, the first year, who knows, right? You're just establishing those numbers anyways, from my understanding. But, so, okay, that was the question. And then, so the backfilling part, and then you don't order the food, but you oversee the overall financials for everything. Is that sort of
for the most part?
Okay.
We're the ones who get the numbers. The labor costs, the food costs, the beer costs, and everything else. So we know what we need to what numbers we need to hit, and if I've over ordered and didn't go through a lot of beer, I can explain why our beer costs are a certain position and whatnot. You know what I mean? If you have a good grasp of it all.
Do you deal directly with the distributors as well?
The only thing that I do, that's kind of the beauty of our company. I only do beer. I only order beer. But I have 5 different distributors that I go through. So I order the draft beer for the place. The reason why I say it's kind of a beautiful setup is our company owns the retail store that we're connected to. They also own the wine bars and the beach camp breweries and whatnot. But I don't have to have, like back when I worked in the clubs, I would talk to all the liquor reps. I'd order all the liquor for the week. I'd order, the draft beer and the bottle beer and everything that we went through. On this side, like I said, I just have to order the draft beer. I pull all of my liquor and wine and everything from the retail store.
Wow.
And it's like we do it on a daily basis. So I kind of know, like you said, we said with the pars of the ground beef and everything. I do the same with the vodka and tequilas and everything that we go through. Happy hour days, like Tuesday, we do happy hour all day long. I know I have to pull more of the happy hour stuff than I have to pull of everything else. You know what I mean? But it's nice because I don't have to have a big giant liquor room. You know what I mean? Back in the day in the nightclubs, I'd have to order, 10 cases of Grey Goose just to get a deal on it. You know what I mean? So then we'd be sitting on 10 cases of Grey Goose for the next 2 months until we went through it, but you had to do that in order to get the deals. We get deals straight from next door and we get it all at cost, which is nice. You know what I mean? So we have a transfer system in our company where they have a big warehouse. They pull the warehouse. They pull in the liquor store from the warehouse for what they need for the week, and then we transfer things from the liquor store for what we need in the restaurants for the week as well. So I don't have to talk to a bunch of liquor reps, or the wine isn't my really forte, but they make the wine list for
Sommelier,
us.
you're not a...
Yeah. I'm like, it's a good solid red. If you want more of a selection, wine bars next door. You know what I mean? But the nice thing is having that liquor store. Yeah. But the nice thing is, in a lot of restaurants, I'm not sure if y'all do it. A lot of people let you bring in a bottle of wine. You just charge for a corking fee. You know what I mean? Because you still need to get some sales from what they're drinking. You know what I mean? For us, it's like, hey, if you don't like, we have a small selection of wine. We have 6 reds, 6 whites, basically. If you don't like the selection, you're welcome to go grab a bottle next door, and we'll get you a couple glasses and just charge you for.
Is it true for y'all in general that the alcohol is usually the highest profit margin? Is that still true, or is that changed?
Liquor typically.
Oh, liquor.
Liquor can be for sure. Some restaurants run, 40% alcohol, 60% food. We stay pretty close to 50-50 range as far as food and alcohol goes. We're still that place. People come just for some happy hour cocktails and stuff, but we sell enough food where we stay along those lines.
Staying on that 51-49.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
No, that's cool. No, I appreciate that. So Cory, from your perspective, right, the co-owner, and then also I know that you're there, slinging some food, because I've been there when you're cooking before.
Not as much as I used to be.
Yeah, that's I haven't seen as much.
But it's been nice.
Yeah, so can you tell me, just from your perspective, sort of the same thing on like your busier day or whatever, how when you go in, how you handle like what you do, all that stuff, especially from the cooking background and the chef side of the house.
So it's a little different for our setup, because especially the first 4 years of it, when I was there like every day. So you have Joey, who is basically owner / GM, me owner / chef, but we've worked together so much. Like he'll have to oversee the KM, the kitchen manager, if things go wrong, whatever. Joey and I have been together so much. It's basically, you handle this, I'll handle this. And then if you need my help with this, I'll be there. If I need your help with this, he'll be there. So it makes it a little easier for us. So that helps a lot. But I mean, like, if he's gone and I need to do payroll, I can go do it. If I'm not there and I need some help in the kitchen, he can go do it. Like we can do each other's jobs.
Wow.
But we tend not to, because why would you want to do extra work? Now when we first opened, I was there 17 hours a day. It was miserable. It was miserable every day, but that's opening a new restaurant.
Yeah.
So get there in the morning, make your prep lists, figure out what's going to take the longest, like smoking all the meats, throw all that on, do your orders, schedules, set up the line, work all through lunch, reset the line for dinner, do all that. I mean, it was all day, every day. Now, we've been open, what month are we in? We've been open 6 years now.
Wow, have you really?
It's been 6 years.
Because was it Fuel before that? Is that correct?
It was Fuel before that.
Yeah.
Tucker Dukes before
Tucker
that.
Dukes, yeah. I remember.
Cycled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cycled.
So
wow, 6 years.
From what I understand, I've seen a lot of the old profit loss statements and everything. I believe the longest tenured restaurant in that spot was 1 year and 2 months.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't know that.
We're actually waiting on a new lease right now for another 3 years.
Whoa.
So
Huge.
hopefully when all's said and done, we're at least 9 years in, and then potentially more.
Wow.
But now, so I was basically the KM / chef / owner, but now I have Chris there as well. He's my KM, but he has a little bit easier because, I mean, he works a good amount of hours. He handles everything just how I want it handled, but he doesn't have to do orders and schedules. I pretty much still do all those. Mm-hmm. That way I still know what's coming in, what's going out,
right.
and I can keep track of everything based on the sales we're doing, which with technology these days, I can look at our sales up to the second.
I was just about to ask,
Mm-hmm.
For that purpose, right? Because, trend analysis is huge, right? Yeah. And that's every industry across the board. And it's funny because they have even like in the car industry or auto industry, they have these like customer relation management tools. And then they also have like the logistics side, which is like, hey, all these brakes, we've, these brake parts and so on. So there's a lot of automated stuff behind that. But for like smaller, considering like, hey, this is a big GM or Chevy, whatever, big things. Yeah. But for smaller like restaurants, like y'all sells, if you will, yourselves, whatever the appropriate English terminology is, do you have that? Is that something, or have you had to manually do that over time and you just built it into like an Excel document, or like, do you have like something that's automated now that runs in the background for that?
So you can set it up with a lot of the point of sale systems,
right?
But like you said, we're kind of small scale. It's a lot of work to put all that in. So, I mean, honestly, since I'm still around all the time, I just kind of do it. If this was something where we were opening another one or two more, like at that point, yes, like you need to have your inventory systems built in there where it's tracking like everything that's going out, everything that's coming in. But right now, I'm basically the inventory system for back of the house. Joey's basically the inventory system for the front of the house.
It's interesting. Yeah, because when I was talking to my buddy Jim, who does the area developer for Big B Coffee, and he's like, area developer is like sort of like your franchise, I can't remember the terminology, but basically he had a couple, and then he became, the leadership over that, and then he's like the next step above that. But their company, because it is large and regional, they have like that automated system, but they also look at regional sales because it's different depending on what state and everything else. So as you grow out, right, it's not only like where you're at, which I'll get to in here in a second, but it's also like holistically, I might have a sale up here because, winter approaches a little earlier. So pumpkin spice might need to be in the inventory sooner than down in the southern states where it's not going to cool off as quickly or as soon or whatever. So like in my brain, I like that kind of stuff. I'm not as number centric, but I like the analytics side of the house and the automation and the AI and how that's really starting to push that. And so, there's the big term AI, and it's like, okay, but there's some simple stuff. It's really just an automated tool with algorithms that eases people's life. And like, there's some big like NCR point of sales company, like there's some other stuff. And even like, I think Third Planet has now some of their point of sales, which has really helped them out as they started distributing their cans and all that stuff out to different places. So I was just curious again, because you said something very important, and I always try to hit this home, and every entrepreneur or person, that has grown up in a respective business or industry has said like, hey, you have to bust your butt. Don't expect to make profit off like the first year, 2 years or whatever. And you're going to be there. Like again, my parents owned a bowling center. I grew up in a bowling center. Like literally we were there all the time. I mean, that was just owner operator, whatever. My dad, he taught me hanging in the back, trying to pull pins out of the machine that got stuck. Like, cleaning toilets, whatever, right? You have to respectively own all of those positions, and then that just helps you, right? That's why there's like that undercover boss where people haven't done it in like 20 years. They go back like, I don't remember how to flip a burger. Like, what do I do with my hands?
It's so true. That's so true.
So, I mean, that's where most people mess up is time and numbers. I mean, this happens especially in this industry. I have all these great recipes and people love it. I'm going to open a restaurant. Well, you didn't realize to mass produce that recipe you're using is going to be a 70% food cost. And once you add in labor and insurance and all this other stuff, you're losing money every sale you do. And that's where, accounting backgrounds and stuff, I'm like, you can't just, it's awesome. People love that, your recipe and stuff. But if you can't mass produce it at a, 30% or under, then you're going to be losing money.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super interesting. So I am curious then, as we talked about those respective roles, and you guys touched on a little bit about the hiring, firing, and that's just something in the industries. And I talked to my buddy Logan, who's now created a software as a service business, by the way, about auto hiring and the cleaning side. And he's actually like going and doing, like he's getting asked to go speak at conferences about this thing. So it's really taken off. Yeah. Because, and this is what I want to touch on is, as there's some like potential waste of time in the hiring side, right? And I was just curious about referrals and other things. When he has big turnover during the seasonal side in the summer, his influx, he has ramped up huge. And it's like, okay, but now I have to get these people in. I'm spending this time emailing and stuff like that, where then they don't even show up. And so you take all that time that you've spent on trying to get this candidate in to hire, and they don't show up. And now you're like, holy crap, that was X amount of hours that are just wasted. Yeah. So he's found a very good way to like filter and do that, but also it's still touching base, because that was the part he found out, which I thought was interesting, is that a lot of people, if it's too automated, they're turned off.
Right.
It's almost robotic. It's like, now I don't have a touch and a feel of the culture of y'all or whatever.
Sure.
So Todd, I know at some point you did do hiring and firing. So I'm just curious now, I know you said it's not really part of the role, But just what have you seen? Like again, so this is Destin specific. We're trying to get in the specific areas now too. But like the Destin specific hiring, firing, and or like that seasonal trend that you've had to potentially ramp up or get summer hires and so on.
Oh yeah, we're definitely seasonal, but in a place like ours, we rely on the local business, and I know they rely more on the local business than we do. But I mean, shoot, we've been there for 10 years. So, the reviews online, people search for a burger or craft beer or something like that.
We shared a review recently.
Yes, we did. We shared a couple reviews from some
crazy woman left us both just a terrible review all within a week.
Yeah. And McGuire's as well. She hit up 3 of the better restaurants, and
she left a negative review for McGuire's.
Oh man, McGuire's, their place and our place, and it was just, some young girl from California who thought she knew didn't even know how to get her tuna ordered correctly. You know what I mean? Like, it's like one of those things. So
I blasted it on Facebook.
Wait, we can't talk about that yet because I want to talk about marketing and how I've seen some of your epic. So hold on, I'm not there yet because I love some of that.
You want to get to Peggy?
That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Yes. But yeah, I still do hiring myself.
Okay.
I'm more the front of house versus the back of house. I don't hire anybody for the back house. But if I do have a candidate come in and say, hey, I know you guys are a little short, consider this guy, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of one of those things. But, with us being seasonal, there's the winter season, which we are actually probably busier in the sense of like the locals come out more. We have a better clientele. Not that saying the summer clientele is not good. It's just a different clientele. It's
sure.
Big parties versus, more intimate parties and stuff like that. Spring season is always crazy, especially snowbird season. When you roll into burger nights on Monday nights, it's like, shoot me, and then you roll into the summer season and fall. We are in a great location to stay busy all year long as you're just taking care of the people and giving them a good experience. And, they want to come back and see you, because we live in an area or we have Kelly Plantation, we have Regatta Bay, we have Crystal Beach, we have Blue Water, and we have a lot of locals, like especially like our Blue Water people. They want to go into Destin, but they don't want to go too far on 98. You know what I mean? So if we're doing the job there, they can, even if they're just coming for a cocktail and a snack or something before they go do something else, it's a great, a great clientele coming from there. And then we have our people in, that live on the 98 area that don't want to go very far at all. And as long as we're doing it right and, showing them a good time and giving them a good product and a good experience, they're gonna, I mean, I see some people 5 times a week, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, and that's just the reality of where we are between us and the wine bar. We take care of them. It's always good quality, and it's almost always good service as well, to the point where that's their spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we do go through waves. The hiring and firing it's difficult, but it always works out in weird ways. And when I say that, I mean like, when we roll into the spring season, we get that hit of spring breakers. We don't get it as much in our place because I think we kind of price them out, and it's not really all their vibe. But we do get the snowbirds that hit us hard. Like I said, on Mondays, they know their happy hour ends at 6 and burger night starts at 5. And man, are they some impatient people, because they'll come in at 5 till 6. No tables available, but they want their happy hour, and I'm like, well, you could have came at 4:30 and got a table, you know what I mean, and got your happy hour and then ordered your burger at 5, and you wouldn't have been scrambling for a server to get you 5 minutes before 6, before happy hour ends, kind of thing. But we stay busy there, and then when we roll into the summer season, you have to. It's like last year I hired too much, because I was coming off like the 2021 and 2022 numbers, where it was like, it was insane. And that's a whole nother ball game there, that 2021, time frame. But I hired a little bit too much last year. So this year I kind of laid back. I'm like, I don't necessarily need somebody, as long as I know what my employees want to work that I have right now. But then again, sometimes some of them are like, hey, I'm going to cut back to these days because I got another job here, because shoot, it's not cheap to live in Destin, Florida, or anywhere in the surrounding area. So these guys got to make their money. They got to work their hours. So I got to work around their personal schedules.
Right.
But it always works out where I get employees back for the summer season from school or whatever. The help is always, the bussers and the hosts and stuff like that. Or we don't run as many in the spring, but when summer rolls around, I'd like to have more of that. And it always works out where, hey, I'm coming back for the summer. I'd like to work as many hours as possible. So it always kind of works out in that sense.
Wow.
And then when we roll into fall, after the summertime, August usually slows down a little bit. June and July are just crazy. The wild thing about us and where we are in Destin is you always have to prepare for the worst, but you still have to take care of your employees and make sure they're making their money at the same time. So, so like lunchtimes, for example, today, right now, I've got an expo, so helping to deliver the food. I've got a manager and I've got a bartender and I've got a server, and they run the whole restaurant together because we're never crazy busy to the point where I need to add more people. But if I go into Destin and it's raining, it's going to be balls to the wall because everybody's coming off the beach. They're coming with their families. They need to go. They're either going to go shopping or they're going to go eating. One of the two. There's not many other places to go.
Right.
So I have to have people on call in the summertime, especially, and say, hey, you're the 3 o'clock server and you're going to work that 3 to first cut through dinner time, but you're on call as well. So, give us a call around 12 and, say, hey, if you guys need me, I'll come in, to just be ready. But I hate to do that to employees, but at the same time, they know that's the understanding of, hey, we got to take care of the people that are working daytime. It's either that or you just come in and we send you home and then you come back at 3 and you don't want to do that either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we have to, but I just tell them, I'm like, hey, if you're on call tomorrow and you look at the forecast and it's rain on the forecast, if you wake up and it's raining, just come in. Don't even call. We're going to need you. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if it's nice and sunny, they'll probably be pretty chill today and not have too much going, but you just have to be ready. And then you have to deal with traffic and all that stuff too. I mean, I had a couple summers ago, I had 2 days in a row where there was an accident on the island and there was an accident on the Mid-Bay Bridge.
Oh, wow.
And I had employees coming from Fort Walton Beach and they can't go around. They can't go through there. Took them 3.5 hours to get to work.
Over
yes.
it. Have to go under. That's the dad joke.
But it took them 3.5 hours to get to work. And I've got customers coming in because they're stuck in traffic and they've got nowhere to go. And I'm with my fair staff, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like, it's constant every day, especially when all the people are in town, you know what I mean? So, but it always works out in the wintertime too, where we, in the fall, we stay pretty steady busy, but not too crazy. And some of my employees go back to school and everything, but I've got the core of people that want their full-time hours. And when full-time hours in the restaurant is 25 hours a week, really.
Oh, really?
They don't work very long shifts. You work 4 to dinner close or whatever, you're working a 6-hour shift or whatever, 4 or 5 days a week, so, but, and then we ramp up in the November and December, very busy months for us because a lot of people are coming back into town, visiting for Thanksgiving, coming vacationing for Thanksgiving, Christmas time, and all that stuff. But it always seems like we need employees. Crap, we need to find bussers. We don't have anybody applying. And then I got kids coming from school, and they're like, "Hey, you got some hours for me?" And I'm like, "Come on in," you know what I mean? So
do you don't have to reach out? That's what I was asking about the referral. Do you have other employees that currently work that know people? Or are you just having people drop in off the street?
It's a little bit of both. It really is. It's a little bit of both. I just lost one of my most experienced and seasoned bartenders, Adam Guidry. He's
sorry I missed his going away, Adam.
Yeah, he's the hard one to lose because he was just like the face of the place, Yep. He'd worked there for 8 years. He was a guy that I hired. He was moving from Louisiana. He applied while he was on vacation, and he said he was going to move here in next couple months. I was like, just call me. You got a job whenever you come in. And he was like that guy. He's great with craft cocktails, great with customers, great with knowledge and just, how to do things. But it was whenever he was leaving, he was like, "Hey, I got another guy. If you need another male bartender, what I mean? This guy is, great." I introduced him to me and everything. And I'm like, right now I kind of am one of those guys. Like if you're one of my current employees and you want to step into a role and you've showed me that you can, you work hard and you care and you're going to show up on time and just, take care of the customers and everything, I'm going to give you a shot before I give somebody a shot off the streets. You know what I mean? And no offense to somebody that's coming in to apply, because I'll always listen.
Sure.
I'll always take an application and I'll always talk to people, but we do kind of promote from within as well to the deserving people, and we have a lot of deserving employees that just, one of my assistant managers right now, he started off as a busser with me, and
Reagan?
Reese.
Reese, sorry.
Yeah, Reese.
He's gonna totally bash me because I don't know why. I was like, okay, I know his name, and I used to give him a hard time. So yeah, Reese. No, I've known Reese for a long
Reese
time.
started off as a buster for me, and he's one of my longest tenured employees.
I call him Todd Jr. That's why.
And he's a good kid, you know what I mean? And he was actually a buster for me. And I had a daytime guy that worked Monday through Friday, and he was like, hey, he was moving on. He was going to do something else. And Reese was like, hey, I'd like to put my name in the hat for that job if it's available. And I said, you know what, dude, you've been working hard for me. I don't mind teaching somebody how to serve. I'm like, you already have the customer service and some of the knowledge and stuff, and you know how we do things here. And if you want to step into that role, we'll get you trained up and we'll get you going. And he's one of my best guys, you know what I mean? Yep. So, he was
even like pencil in the ear hat. Like, just like hot, like legit. I mean, he didn't have the P on his hat, but like, he's a Cubs, right? Didn't he?
He's a Cubs fan.
Yeah, he's a Cubs fan, but he'd have the Cubs, like, because Todd, if you ever see him, he always has a pencil in his ear and a baseball cap. And so before
the zebra pen.
That's right. So before we jump over to Cory here, just to clarify, so because we didn't really talk about this for people maybe outside the area. So Destin is one of the highest tourist areas in the Panhandle. I'm sure we have Panama City, Pensacola, but Destin, has the Emerald Coast. We have the 30A with Fort Walton Beach, all that. But Destin's sort of in the middle there, if you will.
Now you got Taylor Swift talking about
T Swift.
Oh, Tay. So it's extremely busy. Now there's a bridge that goes over the water, which is a quick transition from the area what we call Blue Water Bay over to Destin. And
a lot of bridges go over.
A lot of darts, bro. Darts. Oh, what I was going to say is, or there's the island that has the land gap that you can drive to get over there, but that's a longer way around depending on where you start from. Anyhow, thank you, sir. Structural.
You just laid it up. I'm sorry.
So, and that's the biggest difference is, so Destin has a lot of folks that go there that want to be directly on the beach, where the locals eatery is on a marina in the Bay area. So there's a little bit, it's a pretty big difference.
Or a river if you're a lady from California who doesn't know how to cook tuna.
The lady's review said our only saving grace is that we were located on a river.
Oh, so I mean, we have to get into this, but hold on.
River.
We have to talk about the hiring first, and then we're gonna very quickly get into marketing because this is so interesting. Okay, so Cory, make me lose my train of thought. Okay, so Cory, so for the hiring on your side of the fence, because you've also, as we stated earlier, and you've repeated, you've had sustainable employees for a long period of time. So just curious from what you've seen for the hiring and the seasonal trend and that side of the house for the local side.
So what was very surprising to me throughout our first year or two, I thought Niceville was going to be a lot more steady year round. It is a lot more seasonal than I expected to be. A lot more. And that surprised me.
Yeah, that's surprising to hear.
I was like, we'll be pretty steady. But again, I mean, maybe it's just because we're on the water. So, I mean, I know we're in Niceville, but we're on the water. There, we get a lot of business from the boaters that come into the marina. So it might just be that, but we are a lot more seasonal than I expected to be. Now, with social media these days, it has become a lot easier to reach out to people that you are hiring. So that has become my main tool as far as getting bodies in to either apply or interview. I mean, social media has made it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do that. As you stated, I've lucked into having a good core group on both sides of the fence, back of house and front of house. I have also, these past 2 years, lucked into all my hires in the back of the house being really solid. I even had some younger guys who, as you guys know, these days, it's really a toss-up if they're going to have any work ethic at all or urge to learn. And I've had one of them already moved up north, but I've had two really solid younger hires that just want to work all the hours they can work. They learn fast. And it's worked out very, very well with that.
It helps getting those kind of, young kids, it's just
mold them a
ones
little bit.
that are, mold them. They'll do whatever, you know what I mean? Like, of course, anything within means, but you know what I mean? They want to learn, they want to help, and they want to,
It's a lot more few and far between these days than when we were younger and that certain ethic. You brought up something earlier. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, my bad.
It was about hiring. You had two good kids that you've had in. One moved up to the north side of the house, and they were overall using social media for reaching out. It's a lot easier now. And then you talked about that you've had a couple of young folks come in and they have
I lost
high
it.
work ethic. Okay, that's
It's
all right.
gone.
That's all right. That's all right. So as far as like, so you reach out to social media and do you sit down? Okay, go ahead.
It's back.
You're welcome.
You brought up earlier as far as like starting in the industry when you're really young, and you see as we're getting older, you become like the father-like person.
Oh,
whatever.
right.
So that's another thing that's changed a lot, especially with hiring. I'm at an age now where a lot of my friends have 15, 16, 17-year-olds. So your kid need a job. They need to start out like, host, bussing, whatever it may be. So that's another way that we've been able to get bodies in. It's just our age now.
It's true. It's very true. Paul, you remember Paul Blakely that worked with me years ago, used to run the place with me?
Yes.
He moved up to Ohio.
Huh.
His daughter moved down just for the summertime, and he was like, he hit me up first, and he was like, hey, Riley needs a job. Just host. You train her to serve if you want to, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But it's nice having that too. And honestly, like a lot of my regulars and stuff too are the same way. Like, hey, some of my best employees have come from regulars whose kids are of age, and I think it's because they're like, don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, it's, and it's true too. Because,
I drink here.
Yeah, that's it too. That's it. I don't want to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's true too. Like, and and it helps out so much, man, to have those kind of people for sure.
Yeah.
We always brought up, speaking of like Pittsburgh and baseball teams, what if in restaurants you could do it like they trade people in professional sports?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Look, I'll give you a fry cook and a potential hire. And you send me your grill guy. Just send them over.
Man, you might be onto something. You really might.
Everyone
be onto
has
something.
What is the guy Ray Dalio? He wrote a book called Principles, I believe, and he actually for his business created baseball cards.
Oh yeah.
So they'd have him take like the not IQ but the emotional test or whatever. There's so many out there nowadays, and so it'd give you all these characteristics of the people, and so you'd have it on their strengths, weaknesses, all these other things. So he was able to form teams because you don't want everybody with the same strength on the team. Like you balance each other out. Yep. So it'd be interesting, right? The restaurant industry starts to have these cards and it's literally like this handover of like the fry cook, with like.
It could really work out. Like I got this guy from Niceville that's coming across the bridge. It's late half the time because of traffic, this, that, and the other thing. And you've got this guy from Destin. You know what I mean? Boom. Like, hey, let's swap them out, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what are they getting paid? Cool. They'll line up. Hours line up.
Oh my God.
Do it.
You guys are hilarious.
I'm just saying. Like,
I will say, scheduling wise, we go through 7 shifts, and this isn't a plug for 7 shifts, but one of the interesting things I've never used it, but they have skill levels on there. Like you've got your servers, are they 1, 2, or 3 as far as like, so you don't want to schedule 4 3s together on a slower day and then 4 1s together on a busy day. You know what I mean?
Like you want to see that?
Yeah, they don't get to see that, I don't think. You know what I mean? But skill levels are on there. You know what? I'm a 1? Like, you know what I mean? But I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, it's funny because Logan, the guy I was talking about he actually did that for his business. So he has cleaning level, but it's also an incentive. Hey, you start off here. If you can do it consistent and our QA people come, you can move here. And there's a pay bump with it.
Oh, there you go.
And then at the end of the day, you can become the QA person. But it's also like he has a lot of sports analogies that he utilizes too with the team and stuff, but it works for him and he's done very well with it. So, I mean, it's not too far off. You know what I mean? Like That's a realistic thing. So I'm curious because I do want to hold off on the marketing because I'm super curious about when we get into that. But I want to talk a little bit about the COVID side of the house, right? And also touch base when we talk about the COVID of the food truck, and then we'll transition to the social media and marketing side. So Todd, from the craft bar perspective, how did y'all deal with the COVID time frame?
Put our heads down and worked every day, man. Every day was a Friday up in there. It was wild because 2020, when we shut down, Florida was shut down for 6 weeks, So we basically got furloughed and, had to use some vacation time in order to make some money and stuff, and, had to do whatever we had to do to get the bills paid for in that time frame. But when we came back, it was nuts. It was, jumping through hoops. We had to abide by everything. There was, when we first opened, it was 25% seating inside. If you had a patio, you were good, but you had to have the seats, the tables had to be 6 feet apart or whatever it may be. we were fortunate enough, one of the places that had a nice patio and the local business, and the people were itching to come out. So it was but it was a rodeo at the same time. It was like, 10 max per table, and the bar, at one point there was no seats at the bar. At the next point there was, seats had to be, you could put 2 seats together and 6 feet apart, you know what I mean? So it was like we had 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. We had 6 seats at the bar versus 12 is what we normally have. And then people come in, they want to move seats, you know what I mean, do the thing. We're like, we can't do that, you know what I mean? Or we had locals that would like, hey,
and they get mad at you.
Oh yeah, and they get mad at me, you know what I mean? And they're like, hey, we got a party of 20. And I'm like, well, I can't even do a party of 20. Like, I can do a 10 top. They're like, well, we'll do 2 10 tops. And I'm like, but I know how that goes. You're all going to end up mingling, and it's going to end up being 120 top. And look, I'm not trying to get shut down. I got employees that are relying on us to stay open. All it takes is one person to say something, and then next thing you know, we're getting investigated and we're getting shut down because a 20 top wanted to have a party. You know what I mean? So, and it was also too like, he had guys come in and they'd be like trying to like go up to some girls and talk to them. Like, just sit down. We're not doing that right now.
They were, they were confined for a long time, bro.
Oh my gosh, bro. It was nuts. It was the Wild West.
Girl, you got COVID?
You got that COVID?
You want some?
I got yelled at my first week we were open, because it was like, okay, all of a sudden we're open. So get hand sanitizer, get this, get that, and everything. Every restaurant, yes, every restaurant in Florida is doing the same thing. So I had hand sanitizer at the beginning, both entrances. I had one broken paper towel dispenser in the women's room, and the other one was working fine. So we put a stack of napkins out there because that's all we can do. The paper towel dispensers on back order because everybody in Florida, every restaurant in Florida is ordering more of everything, and some lady comes in and she was like, there's a broken, bitching about the broken paper towel dispenser. I was like, well, yes, ma'am. I was like, well, the other one's working. I was like, we got stacks out here. And she was like, and there's no hand sanitizer. I was like, there's hand sanitizer. She's like, it's COVID-19. And I was like, and I had to step back and be like, why are you out? If you're, you know what I mean? Like, why are you out? But of course you have to be PC about it. You know what I mean? And you have to like understand that you're working for, it's not your restaurant. If I had my own place, it would have been a little bit different the way I handled things, you know what I mean? But I still had to be, but yes, ma'am, I understand, but we're doing the best we can. You know
Did you have to so when you came back, if you will, after the furlough and the vacation days, were you able to bring back your full staff, or did you have like a certain percentage?
I think we were able to bring back full staff for the most part. It was different how it was scheduled because we just didn't know what kind of business we were going to get. And like I said, we were one of those places with the patio that was big enough where we actually added a couple tables to the patio. We brought a couple from inside and took them outside because we had the space for it.
Right.
And we were able to do that. So we stayed, fairly busy when we first opened. And then 2021 came, and that was just a shit show across the whole state of Florida because Florida was open. Maybe Texas was open and nobody else was.
Right.
Everybody had their money that they were getting from the government. They were all coming out in droves. They were going 20 people staying in an Airbnb that slept 8. You know what I mean? Like, and then they would all go out to the restaurants at the same time. And the restrictions were basically gone as far as like what we could do. But I mean, it was nothing but 20 tops, and people like we were battling people every day when we didn't need to be battling people. It was just they were still crazy from the COVID stuff. They had all that in their mind. They wanted taken care of right away. They didn't want to wait for tables. They all wanted to seat together, or they'd come in with 20 and they'd be like, we could split up. And I'm like, well, I got like 3 4 tops available, and I'm not going to send one server to three tables all across the restaurant. You know what I mean? We're just going to wait to seat you, and people get upset. But it was like every day was a Friday. Every lunch was crazy busy. And then we'd break it all down. I'd be in the dish pit catching up on dishes, the kitchen be catching up on prep. And then we'd roll right into a dinner time, which would be a busy Friday lunch, even if it was, or a busy Friday dinner, if it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, it didn't matter. Every day was a Friday. Wow. And I mean, I had my stepper on my of Samsung users. I was top 2% in steps taken of the whole, any Samsung user is how many steps I was taking every day. And ask Kate, I was coming home. I mean, I was
Getting the bottom percent of an
bathing in
apple.
Epsom. Yes, I know, right?
Samsung. Get an Apple Watch.
I knew it was coming.
Top says the bottom apple.
I'm old school here. I'm old school. But I mean, I kept the Epsom salt in the bathtub. You know what I mean? Because it was just, I mean, as an old man running around doing all that stuff, and just, you know, we even had to close the kitchen an hour earlier because they were cooking up until 10 o'clock. There was families coming in at 9:30 with their little children because they had waited 3 hours to eat somewhere else and they never even got sat. So they'd come see us at 9:30, and then my kitchen's cooking till 10:30. And then prepping for the next day, and then cleaning. They were getting out of there at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then having to get up and do it again the next day. And it was just, it was the Wild West, man. It was. I tell everybody, they're like, "Hey, how's business doing? Y'all doing good? Staffing and everything?" I'm like, "We got through 2021. This is a cakewalk." You know, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, this is all a cakewalk at this point. You know what I mean? Like with the business that we're doing and what we dealt with in 2021, and what we, I mean, just physically and mentally, you know, sustained in that time frame in Florida. It was just wild. You know what I mean?
It's crazy because they'd come down here because we don't have restrictions, and then go home and complain that we didn't have restrictions.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah.
You came here for that reason.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You go home and complain about it, stay there.
Yep.
So, Cory, how did you guys deal with the COVID side of the house?
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So, you know, we were watching the news in early March, seeing everything down the coastline slowly close. Mm-hmm. And at first, I was kind of frustrated because I was like, you're seeing the writing on the wall. I'm like, why don't we just do it now? Like, why doesn't DeSantis just do it now and get ahead of this thing? Because, you know, based on what we knew, it was coming. And finally, I think it was March, 17th? I think I remember the date. I think it was March 17th. It goes, we were halfway through our lunch service. It was dead because everyone's home scared. Mm-hmm. And it was, all right, Florida's closed to go only. And we're not built for it.
Yeah.
Because we're a waterfront restaurant. You're not coming to us for to-go food, generally speaking. So as soon as they announced it, it was like, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I put out a post. We shut the door. We were done for now. Yeah. And it sucked because we were gearing up for spring. We were busy as hell before that. Mm-hmm. Like February was one of the best Februarys we had. And
you were just 2 or 3 years in, right?
We are going into our 3rd year at that point. So yeah, we're going into our third spring. And you know, we're still at a point where we make our money during the season. We go broke in the off season, trying to pay off loans, keep people employed when we're not making money because you want to keep those people.
Right.
So we're going into spring, we're broke, and now we're closed. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like we were pretty sure we were losing everything. Like we were like, it's probably done.
Yeah.
So we closed, and then right after that, all the restrictions came down on, you know, grocery stores and everything. So I'm at home, Joey's at home. We're, you know, waking up in the morning every day, watching all the press conferences with fucking Anthony Fauci.
Yeah.
God, if I had a minute.
Yeah.
You know, watching all these pressers and everything, and we were closed almost a month. And then Joey and I mean, we still had a bunch of food in the freezers. All the food we had prepped, we ended up calling our staff in and we divvied up for them to take home.
Wow. Yeah, we did the same.
Because it was going to be garbage.
Yeah.
So, you know, we divvied it up, let people come. We messaged some of our regulars, like, look, if you want to come down, grab a couple bags of smoked wings and some tuna dip and whatever, put it in your freezers, do whatever. You know, we got rid of everything other than what was in the freezers. But, you know, about a month in, Joey was like, let's just open. Like, it'll be me, you, Chris, and Leba. It was just the 4 of us.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we brought. Do you remember Breezy?
Oh, of course.
Little Breezy.
Yeah. I think she's in Tucson now, in Arizona.
Yeah. I think she was there too, and Dee may have been in there too.
Yeah.
But we opened like 4 days a week, like middle of the week, like Wednesday to Saturday, and it was just me and Chris in the back, and rotating them out front, to goes only. They would drive up to the curb. We'd bring it out. It wasn't awesome. I mean, we're not making money. And then the PPP loans came in. We got in on that very first round because we were home for a month, so we were ahead of everything. We had all of our stuff in a file ready to go.
Yeah.
So as soon as it got released, we sent it straight to the bank. Got in on that first round, which was a blessing and a curse because it saved us for one, but you had to use those loans a certain way. Like a certain percentage had to be used to bring staff back on, even if you didn't need them. Like I think it was 75 initially. 75% of the loan had to go to payroll, and 25% could be used for, I think it was overhead, like cam fees, rent, stuff like that. We couldn't use it to order food and stuff like that. So it had to be used that way. So we brought extra staff in, we opened, and I think that at that point they were opening to 25%. So we had some seating, and like he said, they had all that patio seating, so people would come down because, you know, if you're scared to be inside, we have all this outdoor seating. But again, we had to take away half the tables because we had to spread them out a certain way. I think we were about that first loan was an 8-week loan. We were about 6 weeks into it, using extra of it just because that's how you had to use it.
Yeah.
And then they changed the parameters on it. We were about 6 weeks in on it. And that was part of the loan, though. Part of the thing you signed was, pretty much a waiver saying the terms of this may change. But if you don't sign it, you get nothing. If you sign it, you get this.
Sure.
We were about 6 weeks in, and then it changed to you can use it across 24 weeks. And I think it was like a 60-40 split. 60 to payroll, $40 other stuff. But we've used most of it already because that's how it was built.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at this point, we're opening back up. People are coming in. I mean, we were doing pretty good, got through 2020. And then, like he said, 2021 was just balls to the wall.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
What year did you open the food truck? It wasn't
2022.
2022.
August of 2020.
So did you use some of that and like push it into? No. That was
it couldn't be used to do other business.
No, I meant like your profit. So the profit from the 2021 side, did you utilize that to help stand up the food truck side?
Not necessarily. We opened a separate LLC, so it was completely unrelated. So no liability from one to the other. We used the same partnership. So it was me, Joey, and Joey. Joey and Justine, the married couple.
Gotcha.
I mean, they looked at all of our P&L statements from the restaurant, but it wasn't used as like, you can come take the restaurant if we don't pay this. But I mean, the food truck, I mean, we probably could have just, if we wanted to take it out of the business, we could have just paid it outright. But I mean, we needed it to be a separate thing. So we got that going, and I want to say we sent the blueprints and everything the end of 21, beginning of 22, and it was done in, I think, early July of 22, and then we opened in August.
Gotcha. Yeah, and how's that going for you guys so far?
It's good. I mean, like I said, I'm not in the restaurant much anymore, so I'm always on the food truck. So Joey and I always run the truck because it's a totally different liability thing. Like we have different insurance on it, which now we have different insurances on our personal trucks because we have to pull it.
Right.
So we can't just let somebody else go grab it, run it, and do stuff like that. Gotcha. So it's good. It's a lot more work than I expected it to be, especially having our own commissary with our own restaurant. I mean, it does help a lot, but I just thought it would be. I would rather open another restaurant. I think that would be. That would be easier than running the food truck. To be honest, with you.
Wow, that's huge.
But I mean, I'm constantly in emails and phone calls, scheduling stuff nonstop.
That's the thing. I mean, you have to do all that stuff in order to get when you have
we have to go to people. People are coming to us.
Exactly.
So it's way different.
Okay, yeah, Todd, that's interesting, right? So it is a different part of the scheduling side where even if you were to do marketing, right, from the reviews and the sustainability of having that restaurant in one place, now you have this, movable location that you're going to have to take and schedule with those respective venues. And or then you have to put out in the media like, hey, this is where we're going to be, right? So there's like a completely different level of effort there comparatively speaking to a brick and mortar restaurant inside of the house. So speaking of social media and marketing, we've touched on a little bit of the stories and some of the reviews. And I remember, didn't you have shirts about Peggy too? I think there's some. Peggy.
I did not make those.
Yeah. So
a customer enjoyed the back and forth so much she took it upon herself.
yes. So let's go ahead, just because you mentioned that. We're going to start off with Cory and his quick story about one of the reviews, and then I think it would be a good transition. We'll talk about that story, and then the like dual review, which I just didn't know about until right now. So let's go ahead and just talk about the Peggy side of the house real quick.
I mean, this was what, like 2 years ago now. It's
been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. So the general consensus, like we got this really bad review on, I think it was TripAdvisor, and it was just this long diatribe. Just this lady, older woman, was just like going in, and I went to our hostess and our manager to figure out what actually happened. They told me the story, so I decided to reply to her. Oh, no, it was on Yelp because I had to sign in under Joey because Yelp is under him. So I decided to reply to her very professionally. I didn't cuss or anything, but I talked to her very condescendingly and made her look like an idiot. And the people that she was with, who now don't keep their boats there, they left. But I screenshot it and posted it on Facebook, and it kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah. Is that the one that called the host a bitch?
Yes, that one.
I remember that.
Yeah. So for a while, that lady removed her own Facebook because people were going for her, which was never my intent.
Right.
But then she made it super private and then wanted to reach out and talk to me, but I have nothing for her. Mm-hmm. But it got shared to like all the different chef sites and the life of a server sites. I mean, this thing took on a life of its own. It was.
So what? Just to generalize, without going into too specifics, like what was just the scenario? Like what took place?
I'm trying to remember. She said something about.
I remember.
It was something about service, I think, but it turned out like the dude she was with like called our hostess a bitch and all this other stuff. So
wasn't it that the hostess went to seat them at the table, and then she turned on to leave, and they're like, hey, we need a drink. And she's like, I don't do drinks. That's going to be your waiter or waitress or whatever. And then I think the word either came out as she turned around to walk back or whatever. And then from my understanding, she didn't really like tell anybody until a little bit later, right? About that. Is that right?
And it turns out the guy in question that had said it, we had an interaction with him our first year open, and I pieced it together later. So our general build, there's an upstairs for marina members. We're not allowed to serve up there. It's a fire regulation thing because there's only one entrance, one exit. Right. Can't serve up there. At one point, Joey and I took a break. This is when we were working all day, every day. We went up to Bamboo. We were coming back down, and we saw one of our servers coming downstairs holding, empty plates. And we were like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, these guys wanted to sit upstairs, so I'm serving them up there. And we were like, the fuck you are? So we shut that down. Dude comes downstairs, and he's bitching at our hostess. And I'm like, what? And I just happened to be walking by at the time. I'm like, what's the problem? And they're like, well, we want service upstairs. I was like, we can't do that. The fire marshal shut us down. He was like, I know the fire marshal. I was like, so do I. You want me to call him?
His name is Bill, Fire Marshal Bill.
I was like, do you want me to call him?
Yeah.
And he was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I hate that entitled shit.
It's the entitlement, man. We get it a lot in Destin.
Yeah.
Sure. We get it a lot.
So, I know the fire, so do I. It's just like other people like, well, I know the owner. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. I'll be sitting at our own bar and somebody will be like, well, I know the owner.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
or I'll talk shit about myself to them to see what they say.
We get it. We get the entitlement. I know the owner. I mean, somebody that comes in 2 minutes before happy hour ends and the server's with somebody else and they're trying to flag somebody down, and he's like, yeah, it's 10 after now. We don't, well, I know the owner. I'll tell Chan about this. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, go ahead. Don't be a jerk and we'll get you around on happy hour. It's all good. But like,
and how hard up are people for like $2 or $3?
And that's exactly it.
Do you know what I mean? Like you're going to like completely diminish and deteriorate this experience for everybody because that's how it just runs rapid through everybody because of $2 or $3.
Yeah. That's the funny one. You said you used to work at AJ's?
Yeah, for the company, but not up in
Oh,
the.
that was always a good one. Well, I know AJ. AJ is not a person.
AJ's not a person. Yeah. Shit. When I was at Nighttown, I know Alan Laird, and he's the owner of AJ's. I'm like, he has nothing to do with this place anymore. So I know him too.
Good for you.
That's funny. So yeah, and then that run rampant, and then somebody
it was nuts.
created like shirts and with their name on it.
It said so the woman's name was Peggy, and she kind of took on the new Karen. So one of our regulars, she came in one day, I wasn't there, and she was wearing a shirt and had other shirts that said "Don't be a Peggy."
Now the rest are hey, we got a Peggy at table 13.
Basically,
You got to talk to this Peggy.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a few over the years that I've answered like this, and some people just like, all right, so we're not gonna. I mean, if you have a legitimate bad experience or bad review that was handled the right way, like you came about it the right way, I'm not gonna be like this.
Sure.
But if you do something like these people did, I'm gonna fucking come for your throat.
But I think there's something to be said about like working on the base here, and they have food trucks now that are going by our buildings. And I had I get a little saucy about this. So just recently, like 2 days ago or yesterday, I had a breakfast burrito, which is $10, and it came like this big. And I was like, so for the people that are, it's like the size of half of an iPhone 15. And I was like, okay,
I don't know.
Not a
I don't know.
Max.
what's the, Samsung Galaxy 3.
One.
For all those others, the
one
very
with
small.
the stick that draws.
Yeah, that's right. So I get it, and I'm like, okay, because like I have some medication that I have to like food with. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go to eat it, and like the flour tortilla that was grilled is like greasy, and I'm like, they haven't cleaned their grill top, and they were just there, like it's brand new, like they haven't been open and operational that long, and I'm like, okay. So I like literally got to the point like I can't afford getting sick right now. Like a kid gave me strep throat. Anyway, so I can't do that. So I'm like, how do I approach this? So I want to write them just to let them know, like, hey y'all, I don't know what your current like flow is or whatever, because then they moved in, they were serving lunch somewhere else. So I don't know what other experiences that other people were having.
Yeah.
But that's not good for us and good practice in general to have that kind of stuff on base. So because they can run rampant pretty bad and you can get a bad name.
We were on base for a short time. There was a lot of hoops to jump through to get on there.
Yes. And so I want to just let them know, like, hey, cool, right? I would reapproach the price because there's other people that come on with breakfast tacos and you get like 2 and some side potatoes for around that same price.
Right.
And it's definitely, I don't know if they did 2 or 2.5 eggs, but it was, and if it was 3, I mean, okay, but it did not come across that way. So, and I get it, right? Ingredients, I'm like, did this just come from your farm? Because I mean, but that wasn't the marketing approach to it. But anyways, like
COVID also changed everything.
Yeah.
With pricing.
Well, that's, I mean, but again,
It's
like comparatively speaking, right? Like that just didn't match that flow. So, but I want to approach them, right? So I think that's fair to like you go, hey, where's the manager? Can I? And I've done that. I've very few and far between I've ever had to do something like that. Not y'all's places, but other places. Like, hey, can I talk to the manager?
We've had to talk once. There was something wrong, but I mean, that's all you got to do is.
It was a fish situation. That was it.
All you got to do is talk.
Yeah, because I'm a person and you're a person, and I just tell me what's going on. My job is to take care of you. You know what I mean? No matter what the situation is.
Right.
But if you're
you call the hostess a bitch,
yes, that's exactly
we're gonna have a
That's
problem.
exactly
That's not good. So
we've always gone pretty hard for our staff. Like, if you come for our staff, we're coming for you.
Yep.
what?
And we're also not corporate, so I have to answer to myself.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not gonna ground myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is also part of the culture, right? And people love that. If you have a boss that sticks up for you, I mean, I'm more amenable to stick around because of other stuff, because those are the soft skills, right? The soft side of the house. So what is this mutual review that happened?
Oh man, the one on
two different reviews.
Yeah, she left one for us. She left one for them, and McGuire's
for you, right?
Ours was like understandable, but she was more of a germaphobe. So it was like I had a training bartender make her drink, and it's kind of one of those things. Hey, do you mind if our trainee makes your cocktail? And she goes, yeah, don't mess it up. That kind of thing. And the bartender looks at her like, okay, makes the cocktail, ends up dropping the garnish on the bar mat and then putting it in the cocktail. So she was upset about that. And I even said, I was like, I understand that. I understand. But you could ask to make another cocktail. We would have gladly made one for you. Adam was the one who talked to her about the whole situation. Wasn't a big thing on ours, but it was just the approach to the whole situation. And the fact that Joe Schmo has a voice on any social and any Yelp, whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's different ways, but she was an elite Yelper, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Oh, there's statuses.
And I forget what else happened with ours, but it just so happened, like I read the review on theirs about the tuna, and then she had a problem with the tuna at McGuire's. She doesn't know how tuna is supposed to be cooked. You know what I mean? Like she said it was
a you problem.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I remember reading it, and then I clicked on, because I like, whenever you get a review in, my bosses will send it to me, you know what I mean, and that kind of thing. I click on it to see. They bashed every restaurant in Florida, basically. You know what I mean? Had one or two.
I think they liked one, and it was like Hungry Howie's or something.
Yes, and that's exactly it. They gave Hungry Howie's a better review than all three of our restaurants. And granted, I love Hungry Howie's, things like that.
Yeah, pizza Hungry Howie's.
Yeah, that's what, and that got a better review than, but then when you read
I love
it
a good
all,
butter crust.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I have to tell my boss, I'm like, you have to take these with a grain of salt too, because she's obviously, doesn't know how to order, doesn't have that much experience in the restaurant side of things. Like I said, ours was almost justifiable in certain things that she had talked about, but whenever she's bashing one of the better local places around and bashing one of the better touristy places around,
it's been around
forever. And I have never spoken to anybody that's been to McGuire's and had like bad anything.
Yeah,
love McGuire's.
Legit.
Yeah, I had one lady a few weeks back. She bashed us, bashed the server, bashed me, bashed the meatloaf, and had nothing good to say. And I've dealt with her before many a times. She's never happy. Her son was sitting there like this, like probably 22 years old, just like pissed off at the table, probably because his mom's going through it again. You know what I mean? But she sent back the cheese board, and I understand but she made this whole big long thing about like a post about the cheese board and how bad it was and this, that, and the other thing. And, one of my ex-servers chimes in and she's like, you're obviously in the wrong place for a cheese board, because Wine Bar has, you know what I mean? Like you're coming to a gastropub for a cheese board, you know what I mean? Like we have it there. But you know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. And then the meatloaf, as she's talking about, this place has much better. It was mushy. It was, it was not seasoned. The greens weren't seasoned. The mashed potatoes were instant mashed potatoes. So whenever I went up to the table after she sent back the cheese board, and he's like, hey, this lady doesn't like the meatloaf. And I'm like, okay. And I go up and I'm just like, hey, didn't like the meatloaf? She's like, it was mushy. It had no flavor. The potatoes are instant mashed potatoes. The greens have no flavor, no seasoning. And I'm just like, okay. And I'm like, so we didn't like anything, you know what I mean? And that's what I said. I was like, we didn't like anything. And I was like, okay, well, and she was like, well, I'm eating my son's burger. It was delicious. You know what I mean? I was like, well, can I get you a burger? I was like, as I understand you didn't like the meatloaf. I was like, that's kind of one of our staples. You know what I mean? Like people come multiple times a day for the meatloaf, but if you didn't like it, if it was mushy, I don't know what kind of bricks you're eating at your house. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I didn't say that. I'm nice. I'm like,
240 internal temps.
So I comped $45 worth of food off of her tab. But my whole thing is like, look, ma'am, I don't want you to leave hungry. I don't want you to leave upset. Can I get you something else? It's on the house. We'll take care of it for you. She goes, I'll just drink my dinner tonight. And she pulls up her beer, that kind of thing. And then she bashes us. And so it was on a Destin Foodies page. It was on Yelp. It was on everything. She even like made me out to be the asshole when I comped her food with no problem. I didn't say anything bad.
Right.
I'll take care of the meatloaf for you. I apologize. Sorry, it wasn't up to your standards. I was like, we don't use instant mashed potatoes. I was like, I got guys slaving back there in the kitchen. I was like, we make everything from scratch, all of our sauces, everything else. So like, if somebody, kind of does one of those, it kind of pokes me a little bit, because it's like I see these guys slaving back there in the kitchen. You know what I mean? That's not instant mashed potatoes. I've never had a problem with somebody saying the greens weren't seasoned, because that's
the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
So it's like kind of so I have to tell my boss, you have to take these people with a grain of salt.
Right.
But whenever she says that the owner, she thought I was the owner, begrudgingly took the items off the menu and was condescending and blah 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 and this and that, I'm just like, golly. And then what really got me, as I was like, the next morning I wake up to this on my day off. I'm trying to spend a day with my son and, like have family time and enjoy my day, but I'm getting all these messages and shit. And I'm just like, and then one of my ex-employees tags me in it and saying he's one of the best managers I've ever worked for. The place is, this, that, and the other thing. And then some fucking what's the lady Karen, not Karen,
Peggy.
some Peggy comes in that has no clue what the situation is sticking up for this lady, and well, if he's such a good guy, why isn't he chiming in? And I text my managers, and I text my owners, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time keeping my mouth shut on this one. And then if I do pop off, I apologize in advance, because now some lady who doesn't even know me or the situation is judging my character and calling me out. Like, I wanted to write her personally and be like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, I put 10 years into this business. I work my ass off. I have a great staff. We do this. We've been doing this for so long. And I got people coming in, and you have no clue what even happened in this situation. And you're going to chime in like,
The other
you know
side
what I mean?
of social
Like,
media, it's a double edge.
and that's exactly it too, But if I was the owner, if I was the owner of that place, I
It's
would,
fun.
I really, because
It's fun.
because what you do is you have a community like that knows you and your business and what you've been doing.
Sometimes you don't
rally
even have to
around
say
you.
anything. They'll just
Absolutely.
They'll handle them
Absolutely.
for you.
Yeah. I had multiple people chime in and be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, that's our spot. That's a great place. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just funny because there's a lot of people that I know that like I've talked to respectively about y'all's respective, restaurants, and like the reason I had you guys on, right? Like, I always say these are my two constants, right? I think the money equates the like what you get, the quality of food and service for both of y'all's places. Where sometimes you may or may not get that, and it's not consistent. And so that's like the big thing is like, so when I have people come in, I'm sure Cory's seen it a lot. Like, I'll bring people in a little bit harder now with my schedule going over the bridge. I used to go there, my Friday,
which goes over water.
which, oh my God. Simon and Garfunkel Bridge over covered water. All right, so anyway, So anyways, the point being is like our troubled water. I really respect both of y'all and what you've done with your restaurants and the culture that you built there and the following that you have.
I appreciate
especially from the local community, which helps because those reviews also build and bring the tourists in too. So that helps the consistency.
Yeah.
So I want to get close to wrapping up here. And thank you both again for your time. So I want to talk about the personal and professional, like just lessons or mantra that you live by on a day-to-day basis. Something maybe that you've heard from a mentor or you read in a book or something that just helps your everyday sort of life, that due north, if you will. So Cory, I'll start with you. Do you have anything that you sort of a mantra that chimes in your day-to-day life, if you will?
I don't necessarily have a mantra, but as I've gotten older, so I used to let everything affect me. Like, just one little thing will ruin my entire day, my entire week. But since getting older, having kids, like, it's all changed. Like, work used to be my life. One little thing would go wrong and I would just fly off the handle, whatever. And I had a reputation of being angry, aggressive, and so now, like, you can talk to Chris. He's like a teddy bear now. It's completely different. But one of the Christmas parties we had, they were giving out, like fake awards. I got one for Thugs to Hugs. Because even when we first opened, I was still, I didn't have a family, nothing. I was still just aggressive as hell. I was what, 31? Yeah, 31. And, it's just, you got to learn to not let that stuff affect you like that. There's so much bigger things out there than, burning a tray of bacon.
Right. Yeah.
And letting that just ruin the rest of your day.
True.
And
it's true.
I don't have specific mantras or anything, but just learning and growing from it. You have to.
That's cool. What about you, Todd? Any kind of lesson learned from a professional or personal standpoint?
I think I learned, at a young age, working in the pizza shop. And, I mentioned George Wolf, God rest his soul. He passed away from cancer last year, but he was that guy that he gave props where props was due. He's like, I remember him saying, you're my shining star, man. You're my guy. You know what I mean? Like, you're the guy that's busting your ass, and, and appreciation for that. But also too, like, understanding that the business isn't the end all be all, you know what I mean? But, what I've kind of taken from that is, he always worked hard. I work hard. I work hard right along with my employees. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I staff so you guys take care of things. when we're in the thick of things, I'm going to be right there with you. You know what I mean? I've got a lot of things I got to take care of on the outside of things. But everybody I hire, I just tell them all, I'm like, we're all here for the same reason. We're all here to make money. You know what I mean? So you've got to do a good job to make the money that you need to make. You've got to work, but you've got to show me that you want to do that too. So like, work hard, be here on time, do your job, put all the bullshit aside and be here while you're here. And then go do your thing. You know what I mean?
Don't take work home with you.
Don't take work home with you. And that's a huge thing is I can't, like, I've got to turn I turn my phone on silent whenever I'm off, just because like, I don't need the binging. I get employees texting me on my days off. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was your day off. That's all good. You know what I mean? It's part of the job, But at the end of the day, we all have lives outside of the place.
Right.
And I am huge on that. I want you to have your family time. I want you to have your day. I want you to go to that concert. I want you to do this, that, and the other thing. Like this isn't everybody's first priority. You know what I mean? It's more mine because I'm the manager of the place and I have to make sure it's running day in and day out. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm like, we have outside lives. And those outside lives should trump your work lives, you know what I mean, most of the time. You know what I mean? Now, there is times that, hey, we're in the service industry, 4th of July weekend, don't call off. You know what I mean? Like, don't request off, you know what I mean? And realize that I need you here if I put you on the schedule, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you want to take a weekend off, you want to go do this, that, and the other thing, just don't 12 of you take off at the same time, because that's going to kill me. You know what I mean?
Certain people get married.
Yes, yeah, But that one was expected. That was even what we talked about in a meeting. We're like, hey, so and so's getting married. It's going to be a rough weekend. The people that didn't request off for it, you're all going to be working doubles. You know what I mean? So just get ready for it, gear up for it. We're all going to be here together.
And she just owes you a drink when she gets back.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, like we all have our lives outside of the place, and that's the most important thing. And you realize that more when you have kids and we have family and stuff at home that hey, that's where we're at. You know what I mean? So
awesome. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always funny because I always ask, and like it always seems like the professional and personal always blend. Like I always I'll be like, hey, what's a professional or a life lesson learned? And it always blends, because I think, like, especially as you do get older and depending on what you do, there's no, like, you can't really separate those. Those become like one thing,
Absolutely.
right? That just helps the beat of the drum
Yeah.
And you almost,
at your day to day and after the fact.
I mean, you almost work as much as you are at home. So I mean,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
And you hate to tell employees like, hey, we're a family here, but I tell everybody, like, the only way we survive is working together and getting along. That's the only way. And that's why we've thrived for as long as we have in Destin, because we all, like, if you're not busy, somebody else is busy. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And just work together and let's just do it all, make our money, and go home.
Yeah. All right. So now, everybody, an avid listener that has stretched this long here, we are going to ask the special question. So there's always a special question at the end. Did y'all know that?
I did not.
I did not.
Oh, wow. So now when you go back and listen, you can, yeah. Okay. So they're going to be different, right? So I just like to do this to get the brain going. Ooh, man, I keep going with, this is going to be interesting. All right. Well, especially with your livelihood. So I'm going to tailor a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to ask Todd, if you had an extra day in your life, would you want to live it in the past or the future?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Oh, man. If I had an extra day in my life, I would live in the past.
Okay.
Just for specific reasons, most of them being family reasons, and going back to those times where you didn't realize were the last times you were doing things.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I would definitely go back to just a random Sunday up at home with my family, with my grandma and granddad still there, and my grandma feeding my boxer peanut butter sandwiches.
That's awesome.
When he wasn't allowed to have any people food, but grandma was doing it, so I was letting him do his thing, let her do her thing.
Yeah.
But I think the past is what I cherish most, and I'm excited for the future though, with that in mind. But I think I would go back to a past day.
That's cool. I appreciate that. Like I always tell people, it's a mix, which is interesting. So if you ever do go back and listen to like the last piece, you wouldn't believe how it's, and the reasonings are always different too, which is pretty cool. So Cory, I will ask you one. I think you'll enjoy it. But if you were to think in your head, how many beds have you ever slept in your entire life?
Ooh, talking hotels and everything.
Everything.
What the hell? You got like this deep. You got this deep one. Like, if you could relive a day.
Yeah.
And I'm over here. Did you get bed bugs? Oh God. I haven't.
Yeah. So here's the fun part about that question. So it's never the answer, right? So this is what because you didn't listen, so now you'll know. So it's the journey your mind goes on when you start to calculate and think of all the beds. So you start having all these sparks and memories of all these places you've been in your life. And that's the most fun part about that question is it's not the like 100,000, 2,050. It's the like, well, I grew up here, but then I actually, everywhere I went? Well, I went and spent over at my friend's house. And then all these little memories just start to trickle in. And it's a really
Thinking
cool.
about food shows that we went to. And
So it's a really cool thing to ask. So like, I always like, there's some questions you get to, know a little bit more about people. And those are instead of like, hey, where are you from? Like, what's your favorite color? Right. So you get to know a little bit. You just throw these out there and just watch people and you go, okay, well, tell me like where your mind went when you started thinking about that. Well, I've been backpacking. I went to college. I did all right. So, and then I my friend's house and then is it couches too? And I went in a tent somewhere and camping. And it's just neat because you can learn a lot about someone's history by some of those very simple questions.
So my answer is a day in the future.
I love that. Oh my gosh. All right. So this is the time for parting shots here. Again, we appreciate y'all's time. Just wrapping it up. Anything you just want to close out with? So Todd, anything you want to close out with? Again, we do appreciate you coming on.
No, I just appreciate the time and the effort you put into this and the people that you get to talk to and the community that just all this brings together. And I mean, shoot, I think I got a new friend here and a guy that's like.
He's a droid user.
Oh, no. We won't text much because the droid iPhone
blue,
thing. You know
green,
what I mean?
green. That's right.
But yeah, man, just the appreciation and the you get a different perspective of the people and the work that they do is always good to hear.
That's cool. Thank you, man. What about you, Cory? Any kind of last minute stuff?
I mean, a lot of what he said. I mean, your setup here is amazing, and I appreciate you having us. And I look forward to bringing the family here.
Yes,
get all the kids together.
Yeah, we got to do a big. Yeah, after this, I think that's got to be 100% have to happen.
And like he was saying, my wife was like, "You'll like Todd," and I was like, "All right,
that's cool."
And then I didn't realize
that's always good to hear.
I mean, he's been on my. I don't know how long we've been on each other's Facebook.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'd never met him. But
the problem was you never said happy birthday.
We could be dating by now if he did. You know?
Whole different kind of story.
Are you proud of me?
If he told me happy birthday in 2018, this could be a whole different timeline, you know?
So a day in the past. day in the past is the answer. Damn it.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, really appreciate you guys coming out and having you on. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. And until next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.